Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the regular council meeting of District of Summerland for February 26th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Council, we adopt the minutes of February 13th, please. Councillor Blackpool, Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, resolution to adopt tonight's agenda. Any amendments?
No.
No? Okay. Councillor Peak?
I'll put that resolution forward.
Thank you. Seconded, too. Councillor Trainer, thank you. All in favor? Did I get my hands up? Okay, we're going to proceed with the public hearing. I'd like to call the public hearing to order, please.
Use your microphone.
Oh, sorry. Actually, it's not on. There we go. Sorry about that. I won't repeat what I just did, though. So there. I'd like to call the public hearing meeting to order, please. It's a zoning bylaw amendment for 5418 Nixon Road, bylaw number 2018-002. I'll outline the public hearing process. This public hearing is being held pursuant to Section 465 of the Local Government Act. During this public hearing, anyone who believes that his or her interest is affected by the proposed development will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaws that are subject to this hearing. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received concerning the subject bylaws have been made available to the public. Council may ask questions of staff and public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. Council debate on the bylaw will take place when the bylaw is considered after the conclusion of the public hearing. At that time, any questions of the staff will be for clarification purposes only. I will be inviting the public to come forward and present their comments. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record. They're encouraged to limit their remarks to 5 minutes and should include all the relevant information. Further opportunity will be afforded for all persons to speak a second or third time once all persons have had an opportunity to speak. I'd like to ask our Director of Development Services, Mr. Strachan, to introduce the topic, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As noted, we have a rezoning application to rezone the property at 5418 Nixon Road from A1 agricultural small acreage to RSD1 residential medium lot zone. This is a low-density designated area, recently redesignated in November. And the application is to subdivide, is in order to allow for subdivision of the property into a proposed 21 lots. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have any other correspondence?
Late correspondence should be on your desks as a package.
Okay, thank you. Would the proponent like to speak to this? Yeah, I thought I had it written down.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, I did.
is it open now?
Yes.
Can I speak? Yeah. And the council members. My name is Ramesh Rikki. I live at 10411 Jansen Road. I've been living in Summerland for the last 40 years, although I don't look that old. I farm about 35 acres of land in Summerland, mainly orchard, and also I have developed a lot of buildings in downtown Summerland, many condos, townhouses, medical building, and also commercial buildings. So regarding this application, everything that I am proposing, I'm the developer of the property, everything that I'm proposing is in keeping within the 208 OCP, and also in the 2013 growth strategy review still supports the same direction. And in that, these directions are also consistent with the priorities of smart growth, which recognize a pattern of development that makes efficient use of a limited land base and infrastructure systems, projects important resource lands and natural areas, promotes a wide variety of transportation and housing options, creates more complete communities, and fosters high quality and ecologically sensitive development practices. Now, if we take a look at that, it's mixed use, build well-designed, compact neighborhoods, and in that, this is what's called growth strategy, and it's intended to provide for community growth that focuses residential growth in the downtown, lower town, and Trout Creek is also a part of that. So that I'm keeping, everything that I am asking for is in keeping with the OCP and the revision done in 2013. So I'll be glad to ask any questions that the council may have.
Thank you. Gregory? Yeah, we'll be dealing with any questions later when we deal with the topic.
Thank you.
Right now, I'd like to ask the public for the first time to present, anybody that would like to present their views, please come forward, please, and state your name and address.
My name is Marilyn Hanson. I live at 7611 Oak Avenue. And I decided to get the nervousness over first, so here I go. First, I want to address our mayor, council, and staff. You have been charged with preserving the beauty and charm of this town. As you know, Langley was once beautiful. It's all crammed together now, and it's quite ugly. We depend on agriculture and tourism, and if we spoil the charm of our town, we will no longer be an attractive tourism destination. Developers are out to make as much money as they can, and we have to hope that Summerland's governing body has the wisdom and strength not to cave in to every developer's demand. In October 2017, we went through an extensive meeting regarding the property 5418 in Trout Creek. This land was registered, as Mr. Ricky said, as A1 agriculture small acreage. Mr. Ricky presented a plan to change this designation to RSD1 so that he could make a super dense development with 22 houses on lots 39 feet wide. Each house would also have a carriage house in back. All the surrounding houses are on larger lots, RSD2 or bigger. Mr. Ricky's plan was rejected because it didn't fit the ACP or the neighborhood. I have the original plan for that land here. It has, it was from the planning department. It had 15 houses on it from 2013. That was what was suggested for that property. Mr. Ricky was told that he would have to come back with a revised plan. He did. 21 houses with carriage houses on still skimpy lots. Mr. Ricky has had a lot of time since October to come up with a better plan, but he didn't. His plan is still unacceptable. We, the residents of Trout Creek, feel disrespected. We spent a lot of time studying the first plan, and then we spent an evening on a hearing. Now we're back again, spending another evening on a plan which has barely changed from the first one. Okay, 21 houses instead of 22. 5 driveways exiting onto Nixon where children walk and ride their bikes to school. 5 driveways instead of 6. No room for trees which provide beauty and shade to cut down on air conditioning usage. Barely any room for shrubbery for birds. Almost no room for parking for 2 cars, RVs, and boats. This is not the kind of development we want for Trout Creek. Lighthouse Landing is cited as a planning disaster. It could have been charming, but it isn't. The developer of Lighthouse Landing even put in more lots than he originally promised. What laws and penalties are you going to have to stop this? This could happen again with this development, by the way. That developer cut down trees and paid a puny fine. The development on Johnson Street is ugly. Why are we letting greed rule? There's been much talk about affordable housing. Affordable for whom? And do we wreck our neighborhoods because a developer wants to squeeze out as much money as he can? If you allow this squished together development, it will set a precedent for other squished together developments. This isn't how we want our town shaped. We hope, Mayor, Council, and staff, that you will listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, please?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Pamela Cormio, and I reside at 1108 Wharf Street, directly across from the proposed development at 5418 Nixon Avenue. And I have to agree with Marilyn that I find that it's quite surprising to me that we're revisiting this tonight in such a brief time. It is my understanding that under the bylaw 98-003, the resubmission of an application for a different or revised proposal for development can only be made a minimum of 6 months from the date of refusal of the initial plan. So I'm questioning how this may be tabled again when it is such a short timeline. I also agree with Marilyn that I find very little difference in the plan in terms of presenting something forthcoming that could be more fitting to Trout Creek. We're seeing very little change in what is being proposed. Housing and residential development makes sense in consideration of proximity to amenities, house structures and roof lines in keeping with the character of existing neighborhoods, and housing density in keeping with the current residential footprint of the community in which it is to be developed. None of these criteria are in keeping with what is being tabled by this proposal. Trout Creek is not an RSD1 neighborhood. The developments that have been superimposed in our neighborhood are an eyesore at best. Residents have repeatedly verbalized safety concerns regarding this density with respect to car and safety traffic. The Highway 97 intersection at Wharf Street is already sketchy at best. With only 2 entrances into this proposed development off of Wharf Street and Nixon Road, the resulting volume of cars is extremely worrisome. I'm not a finance person, and I'm not an accountant. However, I do recognize that and understand that the municipality is looking to increase its tax-based revenue. I would really like to see the math on the proposal to support any great increase in taxes collected on 22 versus 15 lots, which were in keeping with the plan that was presented back in 2013 for this particular property. Smaller homes mean less tax dollars on those particular structures. Lesser home values on smaller homes and lots also serve to decrease the existing home values in our area. In the long term, I see this as a losing proposition. Instead, I would encourage the development of this land in keeping with the homes of our current neighborhood. I am not opposed to development and residential land infill. I remain opposed to the development that gives no consideration to the existing footprint of our neighborhood. This plan to me has no fit in Trout Creek.
My name is Maureen Bildfell. I live at 4819 Nixon Road. I agree with both the previous speakers. I just wanted to make sure that my voice was heard yet again. I do oppose the project. I oppose an RDS1 development, a complete RDS1 development such as this. I don't think it fits in the landscape of Trout Creek at all. The main reason I bought my home in Trout Creek was because of the community, the way the community was. It had large lots. It was a very, you didn't have to breathe down your neighbor's neck. You didn't look in somebody's window when you were in your house. And that's the charm of Trout Creek, and it's slowly being taken away from us, development by development. We already have a townhouse complex that's going in on the corner, in the south corner of Trout Creek, just off of Wharf Street as well. That intersection there is already treacherous to get out on. You're adding another 20 or 30 cars there, as well as another development that's completely RDS1, allowing carriage houses that will, in fact, could be 2 houses per lot if the parties decide to do that. And it just simply doesn't fit in the landscape of Trout Creek to have RDS1s. But as the other 2 speakers said, I'm insulted that we're back here again. I feel that the voice of the existing residents of this community, our voices aren't heard, our time isn't respected. We're back here again after the first proposal was shut down. We're back here again because he moved it a millimeter. The needle moved a millimeter by taking 1 house out of this development plan, and somehow the people of our community are supposed to just show up again and come again and say the exact same things that we said last time because it's only 1 house that was taken out. And it's insulting. And it's almost, from the outside, it looks like the developer is just trying to get it to a point where there's so much attrition that people just get tired of coming and coming and coming and saying the exact same things that maybe they're hoping that one day we just won't come anymore. And it's wrong, and you need to, I implore our council to say, what about the people that live in that community now? Like, you're taking away that community. The charm and beauty of that community is that we are not crammed in on top of each other. It's not why I moved there, and I don't think it's why a lot of people moved there. And I just think this development is a disgrace. Thank you.
Hi there. My name's Mike Pleasance. I'm at 1508 Britton Road. I'm not sure what the rules are. Am I allowed to give you guys a piece of paper or something? Okay. So what this shows is just through casual conversation amongst the neighborhood, which lots in the surrounding area have expressed their opposition to RSD1 zoning. You know, we didn't canvass door to door. We didn't do anything like that. It was just, you know, hey, what do people think? And with very minimal effort, you can see that it's pretty prolific directly around the impacted neighborhood, that RDS1 is not what people in the area want to see. And this is what we all came out, as people have said, we came out last time and said the same thing. And I don't think you're going to find very much support from the community as long as it's RSD1. The problem with RSD1 is that even if the plan seems reasonable, once it's zoned as that, I don't see anything that's stopping the lots from getting down as small as they can possibly be, and also setting the precedent for future developments. And that's not what we want to see. RSD2, I live on a lot that's RSD2, and it does feel tight as it is. I can't imagine losing another 15 or so feet of frontage. So I think what you're hearing from us isn't this land shouldn't be developed. It's that we need to keep it in line with what's there currently. We don't want to go any denser. We want to keep the charm. And as long as it keeps coming back, whatever it looks like, if it's RSD1, we're going to be standing here saying, no, that's not what's for Trout Creek. The second point I want to make is just that, to me, this seems like a no-brainer because we're not opposed to the development of the land. And it seems crazy to think that you would want to go into this with the bulk of the community around it opposed to it and not happy with it, when there seems to be a very logical and straightforward compromise. If this plan was showing 15 or so lots at RSD2, I think most of us would be nodding our heads in agreement and saying, all right, let's do this. This looks good. And I think that's what you want for your community. You want the support for the new development, and you want it to be a cohesive unit. And I think we have the potential to do that here. We just need to get off of RSD1, get onto RSD2, and it's going to be a great thing for Trout Creek. So I'm excited for what's going to happen with this land. We just need to make it fit in with the rest of the community. Thank you.
Hi, Peter Cormio, 1108 Wharf. I'm really not sure why I'm here again. I was here 3 months ago, and as far as I'm concerned, this plan is almost identical. 21 lots versus the 15. So we have 21 lots with cheaper taxes and 15 lots with more expensive taxes. Did somebody do the math here to find out long-term how this is going to work out? And is my house going to be devalued if there's the smaller lots? Because if there are smaller lots, I would like a tax break. Now, they're talking about affordable housing. There is another development in Trout Creek called Trout Creek Meadows. One of the houses is for sale for $800,000. This is really not what I call affordable for most people. And are these properties in this new development going to be VRBO? The South Okanagan doesn't have a 20% fee now on non-residents. Are we going to have a whole bunch of people coming from other provinces and out of the country and just renting the homes? As far as I'm concerned, this is just short-term gain with respect to taxes. And I have one other question, and I'm going to be back here next month and going to go through this again. Thank you.
So good evening. My name is Bruce Buxton. I live at 1712 Harding Street in Trout Creek. For me, RSD 2 or 3 is also the way to go here, and I still kind of have moments of despair when I think about the genesis of all of this, which was the previous council and the public hearing that I went to for Lighthouse Landing. Now, what happened there was an interesting educational experience for me, because 4 out of 5 people, and it was a quite filled room, were definitely opposed to RSD 1 for a number of reasons. But one of the things that was pointed out was that there was no RSD 1 in Trout Creek at that time. And what happened was the developer said that if it went to RSD 2, it would be a tipping point because they would lose 2 lots and they wouldn't go ahead with it. Now, I would like to kind of challenge that notion, because when I look at the lots that are being developed by the developers, I'm quite sure that they would have intended and continued to get the beautiful homes and the lots that they are developing with the profits, which, you know, they have the right to, but with 2 less lots, I don't think it would have made that much difference to them. But even though most people were opposed to it, it still rings in my ear. The former mayor looked at everybody and said, "It's 2 lots, people, it's 2 lots." And I don't know why that couldn't have been said to the developer, because it really made a lot of difference to us, because now the precedent was set for RSD 1 in Trout Creek. And there were some other things that happened at that public hearing that I still kind of feel upset about. One was, it was being proposed because it was going to allow for affordable lots. And my understanding is that the cheapest lot that actually came out of Lighthouse Landing in the middle, RSD 1, was $299,000. So I kind of feel like we were hoodwinked a little bit there. And the other one was, yeah, we're taking down the green barrier between the park and the development, but we promised to return it to the way it was. And so they ripped out all the wild roses and the trees and all the rest of it. And anybody just take and walk down the park now, just have a look at that green barrier that they've replaced it with. It's a joke. So my question becomes, who then is responsible for when things are promised and not followed through on? Does it just, you know, just seems like it's okay? I don't know. It's maybe a rhetorical question. So now, we're back here again, RSD 1 on the table. It doesn't make sense to plop an RSD 1 huge development right in the middle of the heart of Trout Creek. You know, surely there has to be other considerations than just taxes. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. My name's Kirk Roberge. I'm Raymond's brother-in-law, Connie's brother. just wanted to bring up, there's some misinformation happening here. Any event, Raymond grew up in this property. It's been in his family for over 70 years, and the time has come for this land to be put to better use. This project would bring much-needed family housing within walking distance to a school. We approached the municipality on how best the property could be developed and have followed municipal and provincial guidelines to the letter. We are in full compliance with the district and planning department, as well as requesting the provincial mandated RSD1 zoning. The landowners have selected Ramesh Ricky as the builder. Mr. Ricky is well respected and has resided in Summerland for over 40 years. He's not a newcomer coming into town. He has also served on the Provincial Real Estate Council of British Columbia for 17 years. Now, this developer plans to build affordable houses for year-round families, rather than selling lots that can lead to disorganized neighborhoods like we've seen. Mr. Ricky has agreed to provide a 5% assessment on each lot to be contributed towards Trout Creek green space, as well as a walkway through the neighborhood. Now, last week, I met with Linda Van Elfen, Summerland School trustee. She'd like to be here tonight, but unfortunately, that's when the school board meets, same time as this meeting. Anyway, she has provided me with statistics regarding enrollment in Trout Creek Elementary School. And it shows a decline from 198 students in 2014 to 2015 down to 157 in 2017 and this year. Out of all the elementary schools in the Skaha Lake School District, Trout Creek is the only one declining. All the others are maintaining enrollment or increasing. To put it bluntly, Trout Creek Elementary is in danger of closing. We need to encourage young families to move here, and this development does that. When I did the subdivision in a prior place a number of years back, 100% of the families that bought in the neighborhood had children that attended Giants Head School, and we hope to accomplish the same thing here. These lots are not sized for monster homes. There will be no carriage houses. There are family homes with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2 parking stalls, and RV parking as well. There's a strong demand for smaller lots in Trout Creek area, as witnessed by the applications coming to the planning department. And only to note, if you look at the measurements in our plan, they are actually larger than some that are in Britain, up the road. In any event, many parents have seen their children go through the Trout Creek School, played at the beaches and the parks, and enjoyed the quiet atmosphere of the community. We want to see future generations enjoying the same things. Keeping the lots and homes affordable help ensure this is possible. So we ask you guys to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Yes, sir.
Mayor and Council, my name is Don Anderson. I live at 5215 Nixon Road and also own 5206 Nixon Road where my in-laws live. I'd like to read a letter that I read last time we went through this. Dear Mayor and Council, OCP and zoning amendment at 5418 Nixon Road. We reside at 5215 Nixon Road, have lived here for 27 years, kitty corner of the property, which is the subject of this public hearing. We do not support the rezoning of this property to RSD1 to allow a 22-lot subdivision. We fully understand that this property will be developed. However, would only support a zoning of RSD2 or larger, which is in line with the long-standing character of the neighborhood. Recent rezonings to RSD1 and Trout Creek have not provided good examples of attractive developments. They consist of a hodgepodge of housing styles and sizes, sited very close to one another. The proposed rezoning for the Nixon Road property to RSD1 will create another development of the same type. As shown in the district zoning map, the majority of lots in Trout Creek are RSD2 or larger. It is our opinion that if council proceeds with rezoning this property to RSD1, then is electing to change the character of our neighborhood. Additionally, rezoning with the property would result in increased traffic on roads which have no sidewalks, increasing difficulty accessing Highway 97 from Wharf Street, compounded by the recent increase to the speed limit on the highway, more residents in an area with very limited transit service, and a lack of consistency and character with the very attractive adjacent new development on Britton Road. Don Anderson and Tracy Batten. I have a couple more things. You have a couple of minutes? Let me know if I hit my 5 minutes and I
It's
can
3 minutes.
come back.
I will.
Would like to point out, without a covenant of some sort, a binding covenant, once this property is rezoned, the developer is free to put in any number of lots as long as they meet the servicing requirements, including carriage houses. All the talk of what they're going to do doesn't matter, because once it's rezoned, there's no way to stop putting in the max lots for the property. The city cannot stop it. I would like to point out this business of revisiting this in such a time frame. This bylaw amendment is exactly the same as the one we went through in November. With the exception of the number, the bylaw number, and the date, it is exactly the same bylaw. Same wording, same everything. And according to bylaw number 98003, bylaw to establish procedures to amend an official community plan or a zoning bylaw, under section 11, reapplication, subject to section 895 of the Municipal Act, reapplication for an amendment or permit that has been refused by council shall not be considered within a 6-month period immediately following the date of refusal. We're not talking about a lot plan. This is a reapplication for zoning that is exactly the same as it was last time, which is a clear contravention of this bylaw. Also, in the last meeting, reading from the minutes of the last meeting, but defeated the rezoning bylaw. In their comments, referring to the mayor and council, following the defeating the resolution, council encouraged the applicant to consider the public input received and submit a new application with a revised subdivision plan. Removing one lot is completely ignoring that advice and disrespectful to everybody that's here and all of you. We will keep coming back and doing this over and over again if we need to. As someone mentioned before, I'm feeling like it's just waiting for us to get tired of coming up here. This reapplication is just going to go on and on and on, and the same reasons still apply. That's all I have, except with one exception. Anybody that's here that opposes or supports this, please get up and make your voice heard. Just sitting there won't do anything for you. Get up and say something. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Mayor Waterman and councilors, my name is Raymond Davis and I live at 5418 Nixon Road. Some things I'd like to clear up first is I'm not sure where the 15-lot subdivision ever came from. My father, and it's been a family property for over 75 years, never proposed it. My brothers or myself have never suggested or supported the plan. Perhaps it comes from a time when Trout Creek had no sewer system, when lakeshore homes were polluting the lake because of their septic tanks, and lots needed to be larger to support a household septic system. Now with smaller sewer lots provided by the district, less expensive in today's market, more families will be able to live in Trout Creek. This will be a controlled development. The developer is keeping control, unlike what has occurred in other Trout Creek developments. My wife and I are passionate gardeners, but have come to the realization after observing our family and friends' families that today young families, professionals do not have time for large yards or want a lot of yard work, gardens, etc. I'd like to talk about increased traffic. Most of the elementary school children in BC walk by more roads and more cars than what may occur along Nixon Road. The developer has made it 5 lots along Nixon, 1 more than the opposite side of the road. But not taking safety lightly, the addition of the pedestrian walkway will allow students and parents to walk directly from Britain to Nixon, exiting almost across from the school. We already have a lot of people cutting across the property, and the walkway will now be a legal walkway, and they won't be trespassing as they do now. Trout Creek community is part of the whole Summerland. We need to recognize the housing needs of families and young professionals wanting to live in our town. not just Trout Creek. For example, the paper talked about the staff of Unisys International School not having ability to even support their own staff. My brother David, who co-owns the property, wrote a letter to the council, and he talked about the smart growth principles, the growth management strategy, so I'm not going to repeat that letter to you tonight. But on the other hand, he and I agree, and we don't always agree on everything. This proposal, we feel, is a right fit for the property and the community and Summerland. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jazz Gary. I'm from Penticton. I'm a private international education recruiter, and I'm with the School District 67 as well as Unisys International School. That's opening in September of 2018, as well as the Okanagan College. And one of the questions that comes to readily asked of me is housing availability in Summerland for my potential student families. And I have asked Mr. Riki to keep us in mind when that development occurs so I can pass this information on to my students and their families. So I just wanted to come in this evening and make that my voice heard as well, with all due respect to the residents of Trout Creek. Thank you.
Okay, for a second time, is there anybody like to present their views on this issue?
Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. My name is Jack Borchard. I live at 5012 Woods Avenue in Trout Creek and have been there for a number of years. I have great concern about an RSD1 zoning in that area, the small lots. Everybody talks about parking cars and RVs and boats, and when you know you've got a 39-foot frontage, you're not parking lots of cars, lots of RVs, and lots of boats. And I'm surprised that that's being used as a selling feature for this property. I guess it would be great if on these properties there was some kind of covenant for maximum sale price for a small property like this that was part of the agreement. That might take some of the fervor that people have about developing small lots like this in an area where RSD2 is the norm. I think that there isn't a whole lot of concern regarding small or young families. Young families aren't going to come in and pay, $300,000, $400,000 for a property, which I think was a word that I heard, and I may be wrong, but back at the October meeting, there was side discussions about what properties we're going to go for, and that's pretty hard to understand that. Young families aren't going to be buying that kind of property. It just doesn't fit in with the neighborhood. I don't know, maybe there has been, and I haven't seen anything in terms of a traffic study that's been done. As it's been mentioned, the entrance from Wharf Street onto Highway 97 is a catastrophe waiting to happen, especially with the increased speed through Trout Creek. And now if there's going to be more condos put down in the old campground in the corner of Trout Creek, you're going to have a whole lot of traffic coming out onto the highway. And if it's decided that highway entrance, it might be closed off because it is unsafe. If you've ever tried to get out of there in the winter when there's snow on that grade, and you have to get out of there before the traffic, which is coming from Penticton, and they're not slowing down to 70, you want to get out of there, you have to really move. And so if they reconfigure that and they push the traffic past Trout Creek School so they come out on Johnson where the lights are, you're going to have a whole whack of traffic that's going past all those kids in Trout Creek School. So I just need to say that I think it's a bad idea. RSD2 would be reasonable. We're not opposed to development. That has been said quite clearly. The other thing that sort of concerns me, I came across some city documents that were from some years ago that had file numbers on them. city file numbers, they were signed documents, they were information that was agreeing to different things and had made commitments to previous people around there, and they'd been signed off by the city, and now the city says that they've misplaced those documents, they can't find them, or they don't show up. And it just leaves me, it just leaves a lot of questions in my mind as to, where do these signed, filed city documents go that speak to a different kind of zoning and different kind of a place down there. So, I don't know, I'm sure you don't want to delve into that tonight and all of the ramifications of city documents that have gone away, but those are concerns that I have, because other documents that we make and other agreements that we have with the city that have been signed off by people and given file numbers and put away, how do we know that those will be honored too? And so that's a great concern for me. Thank you very much for giving us this time.
Jim Hunt, 5622 Nixon Road, and Gail also. Just for the public, and we've written in a few letters on this because we are the neighboring property to it, to the north, that is also zoned A1. And I'm sure sometime in the future it will get zoned RSD2 maybe, and that, but it won't be for a while. Also let you know that we're opposed to that, the zoning as proposed there. We realize there's been a real change of staff here, but getting information on it, you put the sign out there to come and see yous if you wanted information. And I came to see yous about information, a file. And no, there's no file. Now, I brought your proofs on files, and I brought more evidence. I talked to Doug and remembered staying at, and I didn't realize a thing hadn't been dealt with regarding the Desmond property. And and this goes way back. Desmond's purchase, I think, was 1965 there. And it is a file that goes back to 1966, where on the back of his property, that part of it was part of the development really on Britain Road, and that the municipality was paid for that road, but it never got put in. And this is how far back this area, that there's so much controversy in there, not because a file can't be found. And like Mr. Borchard said, that it's a frustrating thing, because on your thing you ask people to come in if you're looking for information, so you go in there and you can't get it. And I can't imagine what happens to files that disappear, or why they disappear, or anything. And that is not the only one. But anyway, getting back in that latest information that I sent you, I sent you two letters here recently, and that there was 4 properties bound together. But if you go back to 1990, as those letters are there, it is 9 properties that were part of that. And it all hooks together, and what happened with the Taylor purchasing the areas from Desmond and from the Whitings, it all goes back to that time. Your approving officer of Gene Benner actually drafted into the future on that area, and it was all laid out what was supposed to happen there. There's zoning changes that have come since then for smaller lot sizes, down to the 650. But there was 4 properties that was tied in there on that development. And as proposed thing, you get a developer comes in, buying a piece of property, and us being one of the pieces of property, I think we should be entitled to access as was planned way back then. And I don't know how anybody can turn their back on that. And and I'm certainly not opposed to this property being developed. You know, Connie and Ray are such great people, or great neighbors and stuff like that, and no matter what's happened, that, you know, that doesn't change things in my minds. But we want the opportunity for our kids to develop that property. And I don't think we should be left out of it, because we've been involved in it for a long time. I'm 41 years, so maybe I'm 1 extra year on Mr. Ricky, but I'm not a developer coming in there. I own the property, we own the property, and that coming in and changing everything is...
Can you wind things down a bit, please, Jim? We're just about out of time.
Well, I tell you, I've spent a long time in this file that I shouldn't have had to spend, because the file should have been here. But anyway, I'll come back a second time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, my name is Dale Jones and my address is 12808 Schaefer Crescent. I do not have a vested interest in Trout Creek and the fact that I'm not there, but as a resident of Summerland, I do have interest in the way that the properties are being developed, particularly as I see what has already happened in Trout Creek, and it's just really eroded the atmosphere of the whole surrounding area. And I just have one comment, really, and that is I find it very interesting that when we had the public hearing for the Bank Street, that the current developer was parading around there with a no button, objecting to the high density of the Bank Street property development. And now we see exactly the same thing being proposed in this particular area. And I just find it very strange, and I would encourage Mayor and Council to consider this very strongly before a decision is made in the contrary. Thank you.
Okay. Would anybody else like to come up?
Hi, Joanne Smrek, 5605 Nixon Road, right across from the proposed development. And I didn't come tonight prepared to say anything, but I've been encouraged by Dawn and everybody else here that I can't add anything else. I totally agree with all my neighbors, and I do not support this development. And I really implore council to take a look at it. I, too, felt extremely angry when I saw the proposal for one less house. And I thought, really? I was insulted, and I thought the exact same thing as the other lady, is that I think it's just wearing people down, and people are going to get tired to come out, but I think we have a good contingency here that will keep fighting for our neighborhood. We want our neighborhood to stay like it is. Thank you.
Darren Yopik, 1712 Britton Road. Actually just moved there about 6 months ago. So I don't have much to add to what everyone's saying, but my family and I, we strongly oppose the RSD1 as well. Again, not opposed to it getting developed, but we don't feel that the high density is appropriate. And the one thing I will kind of ask, actually a rhetorical question somewhat, one of the arguments for the RSD1 seems to be cheaper housing and being able to affordable housing. I looked at the Lighthouse Landing when I was actually looking to buy 1712, and I'm not sure what you guys think affordable housing is, but for a young family, I'm not sure that's extremely affordable housing. So that's all I'm going to say. Thanks for your time.
Okay, for a third time, is there anybody in the audience who'd like to present their views on this subject?
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. My name is Vic Jensen. I live at 705 Miller Street, and my wife Linda and I have lived there for quite a few years. And I didn't come prepared to speak to the issue, but those that have spoken against the proposal have spoken very well on a number of issues regarding problems with density and traffic, the neighborhood fit. So I wanted to come forward and lend my voice to those same concerns. Lighthouse Landing became, I think, a lightning rod for many of us about how development can go wrong in the community. That was a jewel of a property, and I mean, everybody's home is their castle, and they bought to their neighborhood because they want to live there and grow, raise their family, and enjoy that area for many years. And I think we've lost control of the development process in Summerland. The developers are pushing these developments and will try and get as much as they can. Lighthouse Landing was the lightning rod. Banks Crescent, well, you saw the turnout against that. I think when developers bring forward something that's reasonable, something that fits the OCP, that fits a community plan, and Trout Creek needs a community plan in the worst way. You just look at what's happening down there. It's getting away on us, and we're going to regret it. Trout Creek needs a community plan, and I'm not against development, but RSD1 is a bad fit. Thank you for your time.
Okay, Council, can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Adjourn this public hearing?
You would just declare it terminated.
Okay. Just like to declare the public hearing. Okay, Jim, you, okay, it's all right. I was,
Just notes from some of the pages I had written. These blocks were planned far before you and I, and people bought and invested in the neighborhood, raised families, shared lives through schooling, shaped lives, pardon me, played sports, just all around great living. I'd venture to say that most of us love living here. The American Broadcasting Show 2020 just recently had a show, a headline, "The Zeal for Development Overtakes Common Sense." This sounds an awful lot like Summerland at this time. Thank you very much.
thank you. Okay, I'm terminating the public hearing with that, please. Thank you. No, I'm afraid we're done.
No, no.
Okay,
You can't.
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't realize you were going to get up.
No, I'd just like to remind the council and people coming up here, this is in keeping with the OCP of 2008, and the 2013 growth strategy review still supports this direction. It's all written in the study, and you've perhaps seen it all. I just like to remind, and there's no room for carriage homes on these lots. That could be answered by the planner. Thank you.
Back again, it's Marilyn Hanson. I have the analysis of the potential urban growth area from July 2013, and it shows 15 lots there.
Okay, I'd like to declare the public hearing adjourned. Thank you. Okay, council, we're moving on to, let's see, where are we here? Oh. Right. Okay, now we have an opportunity for public comment on any of the highlighted items in the agenda. So if anybody would like to come forward, you have 2 minutes to speak to any highlighted agenda item. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to, I guess it's my report. I'll find it here. Yeah, I'll wait for a little quiet. Okay, first I'd like to welcome Nicole Cressman, who is now taking on duties of the Manager of Legislative Services. Welcome, Nicole. Would you like to just stand up and the public can see who you are? Thank you very much. I appreciate you being here this evening, and I'm looking forward to working with you. This coming Saturday is the 80th Annual Summer Business and Community Excellence Awards. Each year, the Summerland Chamber of Commerce awards gala celebrating individuals and businesses who have contributed to the fabric and growth of our community. As part of that gala, as mayor, I will have the distinct pleasure of awarding the Mayor's Award of Excellence to a deserving community organization. Also, I'd like to mention on behalf of council and the community, I'd like to express how proud we are of Justin Cripps, a Canadian Olympic champion. Justin, who grew up in Summerland, tied for gold at the Olympics in the two-man bobsled race. I watched that thing. I just couldn't believe that it came down to matching at 100th of a second. It was unbelievable, but that's what happened. He also had a great run in the four-man bobsled race. There will be no doubt, there will no doubt be a congratulatory celebration once Justin's busy schedule allows him time to return to Summerland. On another front, council is now into some fairly busy budget deliberations. We've had a series of meetings today, and we'll be continuing over the next several weeks. Gail?
Thank you. Just a couple of notes later in the agenda, Council. We'll be talking once again about the automated carts and the plan for the rollout. We've been getting quite a bit of concern from some residents who are just not sure about how that'll work with their properties or with how they handle their recycling and their yard waste and garbage. So staff will be going over what we hope our communication plan is going to be. And also last week, as I reported to council, I was attending the Chief Administrative Officers Forum in Vancouver. It's once a year. All the chief administrative officers in, well, not all of them, but many of them throughout the province come together to talk about various items. And it was reminded that the general elections are coming up for mayor and councillors. So although we still need to do business here and continue moving forward, staff needs to start preparing for the election, both in preparing for the actual election day and the ballots and the election, but also in getting our procedures ready for those that are interested in potentially running for mayor and council. So that will be something else that we'll be working on as time goes on over the next few months. And that's my report for tonight.
Thank you. Okay, correspondence, or we have no unfinished business, so correspondence. Is there anything in the correspondence list that council would like to bring forward? Okay, can we have a resolution to receive, please? Councillor Peak, thank you. Councillor Boot, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, moving on to 10.2, committee commission minutes. Someone like to bring that motion forward to receive, please. Councillor Holmes? Councillor Traynor, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, development services reports. Mr. Strachan. 11.1.
Thank you, Mayor. So the first application we have is an ALC subdivision application, and these applications are brought before council for their information, and if they wish to pass on a resolution to the ALC. The final decision for these types of applications is through the Agricultural Land Commission. This particular parcel is for a large parcel in Garnet Valley Road. The proposal is to carve off a section that's being utilized for farming at this point in time, and separating the ownership from the larger parcel, which is within the ALR. So the proposal is not to remove the property from the ALR, but do a subdivision, within the ALR, meeting the zoning parcel size limitations. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions of the planner, please? Councillor Carlson.
It's more of a process question. So what would happen in terms of district process if this goes forward to the Land Commission and then is supported by them? Does it come back to the district for conversation on water and land use, or is that a conversation that we have tonight?
It would come back to district staff for water modeling, but it would not come back to council for further consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Holmes.
What size would the new lot be?
8 hectares.
8 hectares.
20 acres.
20 acres, oh, okay.
It is difficult to scale. This is the small piece of here.
Yeah.
It's such a large parcel, it becomes disproportionate.
Councillor Carlson.
So I do have a couple of questions then surrounding water and water allocation on this property based on the information that the proponent has given to us, and noting that at the Ag Advisory Committee meeting that I attended, and there was some comments made regarding the water, but not necessarily in regards to how much water is currently allocated to that site, and also to discuss if greenhouses are part of the proposal on the new site. Is there water rights or water allocation for that property? And if there isn't water for that property, do we have a policy and a process in place that will ensure that they have access to the water they require to run the operation? Because my understanding is on the 312 acre parcel with potential for 120 acres, I believe, in production, but only half of that currently has water allocation. I'm wondering if there's some steps here that we need to address in order to ensure everyone gets the water and pays for the water that is required to do this properly.
As far as water allocation, I'm hoping that one of my colleagues can answer that question regarding how that allocation is done.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, as far as a change to water allocation, it's based on the arable area, so there can be an application to increase the arable area that a parcel has been allocated. So that process would come through, and we would then review that along with the water modeling of the system and determine if there was any offsite improvements that would be required. But there would be associated fees along with that increased arable area request as well.
Okay, I think that answers the question. What about in terms of greenhouse production? As we note in our water bylaw, greenhouses are allocated twice as much per acre as a regular parcel, and I just wonder if we have somewhere distinguished that, or if it needs to be something we look at to make sure is being followed.
That would need to be noted on that application so that we could do that analysis accordingly based on that allocation, that being twice as much as arable land.
Okay. I do think that unless there's other people with questions, I could bring this forward. I think it's a really good idea, but I do think we need to note that water allocation will be crucial to make sure that the applicants understand and have enough and buy in at whatever rate they may need to buy in to make sure that they can do all the great things that want to be done out there. So if there's no more questions, I will bring it forward, but.
Councillor Peak, your question of planner?
Yes, if I may. And it may go to Chris because it is to do, and I had some concerns around the water issue as well for allocations, but in terms of water modeling and those associated costs, how are they paid for when it does, if and when it does happen?
For the modeling itself?
Yes.
As part of the application, there's a modeling fee that's associated with that process.
Okay. So it steps in at that point.
Yep.
Thank you.
The proponent asks,
Is it appropriate for me to answer any questions that come up
Okay.
for the proponent?
Are you the owner?
Oh, that's a- yes.
So if council wants to invite, it would be unanimous
Okay.
resolution if you felt it's.
Council would like to invite the owner to speak, then we can. It has to be unanimous.
Yes, I would be
I think-
interested in hearing
Go
from the
ahead.
owner.
Come up, please.
Yeah, thank you, much appreciated. My name is Steve Lorney, part owner of Okanagan Crush Pad Winery. We bought this large parcel about 6 years ago because we saw the potential of grapeland there. It was used as hay fields and ranching. It has water rights for 60 acres that were used for the hay fields at 36 inches of water. Our vines take about 6 to 8 inches of water, so we're using much, much less than is allocated for the property. The greenhouse that we're planning for the subdivided property is not going to take very much water because it's not going to be any more than maybe 20,000 square feet, give or take, which is about half an acre. So we'll end up using substantially less water than is allocated to the property at this point. So. So if there's any other questions, I'd be more than happy to address them.
Okay, I think we're fine. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
I guess the question I might have, if, you know, this portion is in the ALR, correct?
Yep.
Right? Was there not water designated for the whole property? All the 60 acres did not include this piece?
Can you speak up, please?
Sorry, did the 60 acres that has water allocated to it not include this 20 acres or 8 hectares?
For the large parcel, it's
Strictly
being
for the...
severed off of the large parcel.
Okay, so prior to the severing though, did that 20 acres or 8 hectares, was it included in the water allocation?
My understanding is it's not a part of the arable acreage, right? We've just heard that it's the 60 acres of arable hay that
Okay.
had the water allocation. But my concern is the same as it would be on any property. So if you're farming 30 acres, but you only have water rights for 15 acres, but you're watering all 30, no matter what you're growing, you're still watering all 30, and therefore, I would assume we as council should be looking to make sure that all the acres that are being watered are being paid for. You may not use all of the water that's allocated, and your neighbor may not use all the water that's allocated per acre, but it's still part of the bylaw that we have and the way that our allocation is presented as a per acre amount. And so if someone is using twice or 3 times as much land, but not using all the water, unless we change our water bylaws, we're going to have to look into that. And I think it's really big. It's going to be a big thing to look at. And I think that it's part of the solution to our, and part of our egg metering discussion that continues to go on. But I do think that we just need to keep that in mind as we move forward on this.
I think to clarify, and thank you for that clarification as well, but one of the rationales for having the water allocations we do per acre is that uses can change. And so that's why, regardless of what may be grown, the water allocation might be the same. Anyway, thank you for that. Any Any other questions of the planner at this point? Councillor Boot, question of the planner?
Yes, I have a question. It has to do with the lack of quorum at the Agriculture Advisory Committee meeting. From the information that I read attached to the agenda, there are some vacancies on that committee. Is that the sole reason why they weren't able to get quorum when this was presented? Or is it just that maybe one or two people were away and they couldn't get quorum?
So the committee can have, the way their terms of reference are written, it's 50% of the membership, so the people that are there. So there's 7 members that were previously a part of the committee. It can have up to, I believe, 15 members. But at this point, there's 7 appointed members. One of them, before Christmas, pulled back from the committee and did not attend. And it was one of the core 4 that had been attending to allow for quorum to take place, which brought it down to 3. Because they didn't cross over that 50%, they weren't able to establish quorum.
But the answer to that question is no, it shouldn't make it, in this particular case, it makes a difference because 7 or 6 still requires 4 for a quorum. But
Okay.
if there was, for example, if there was 3 on the committee, if there was only 3 filling it, you would only need 2 for quorum.
Okay, so thank you. That clarifies that. So I'm wondering if we could maybe make, and I'm not sure if this is allowed in the process, that's why I'm asking you, if we could make use of technology and do a phone vote or an email vote or a Skype vote or something like that so that the information is presented, and then even if you're not physically there, you can vote. Is that possible? Can you do that on an advisory committee?
You can, but I would caution council in, you definitely can do that, and I would have to look and see if our procedures bylaw allows it, but you certainly do not want committees to hold up timely processing of your applications.
Right, so that's why I'm asking if that process, because I wouldn't want the fact that we didn't have quorum at that meeting to hold up this application. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, and the trouble is whether or not you have the technology to ensure they're getting all the information when it's very difficult, and, even councils that Skype in or phone in, it's difficult to get the info on complex. So if it's a simple question and answer, it's fine. But if we started doing that with all of our committees and staff needed to organize different people phoning in, and I would, again, suggest that it wouldn't be, it's not the same as, it's different when council does it, and as you know, council does it rarely. But if we were managing all our committees to allow for phoning in and Skyping in, it could become difficult.
So you're suggesting then that this proceed without the quorum for the advisory committee? Agriculture Advisory Committee.
If we've made, and then I apologize, I haven't followed what attempts that we've made to have a meeting, but if we've given it sufficient time and we've given opportunity for our members to be able to attend, I would suggest that you would want to move it forward without getting the input of the committee.
So was it?
That conversation was had at the meeting.
Yes.
To discuss if it was going to be appropriate, and there was great support for moving this forward, and there were some comments sent in by at least one committee member who wasn't able to attend, also in support, but just raising a couple of questions. And I think that if this were to go back to the Ag Advisory Committee, you'd probably have the same challenge getting a proper quorum, but you'd follow up with support again. So that would be my understanding from being there.
Thank you.
Councillor Peak.
If there are no further questions, I would bring the recommendation forward.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Barkle, thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Carlson.
I just want to say I think it's a really smart way to create a partnership and to try and encourage local agriculture and new ventures. So I hope that this will be successful as it goes forward.
So just to reiterate, because you didn't read it out, just that it's to support the application.
Right.
Would you like me to read just a portion of the application? Because we often say that people in the audience don't always know. So it's the Agriculture that the Agricultural Land Commission application to subdivide a part of the district lot at Garnet Valley 26405 to create a new 8-hectare lot be supported.
Thank you. Okay, we have a seconder.
We did.
So, any further discussion? Councillor Booth.
It's not really a discussion, but a comment in advance of my vote. Normally, I wouldn't support something like this where we're fracturing ALR land, but I think this is an excellent use of that 20-acre parcel, and the combination of the new the cooperation between OCP and Locomotive in the new company, I think that is a very promising enterprise.
Thank you.
What she said.
Councillor Peak.
I don't look at it so much as fracturing because I think that the opportunity for agricultural use in both these instances are supported within the community, and the smaller property going to a more intensive use is actually a smart use of the property.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to, whoops.
While you're beginning, I just wanted to make note to council, I'm trying to get our recommended motions up on the screen and to be able to change them when a new one is brought forward so that they're actually printed on the screen. We just haven't got the technology sorted out yet, but we will do that.
Okay, moving on to 11.2. Mr. Strachan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a temporary use permit renewal. This is for a property on Lakeshore. Council granted a temporary use for wine storage on this property for a 2-year term. And the 2-year term came up in November, and the applicants have applied for further extension of an application for further extension of that temporary use. They are permitted to ask for an extension, one-time extension. And the process that we have in Summerland has the application then going forward to the Advisory Planning Commission before it comes back to council for consideration. So this resolution would be to direct staff to bring it forward to the Advisory Planning Commission, receive their recommendation, and then bring it back to council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council questions,
Just
Councillor Carlson.
wondering when the next APC meeting is.
We schedule the APC meetings on an as-need basis, so we have some other additional applications. So Alex, our development planner, is already working on getting the committee together to the commission together to meet is sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
Okay, Councillor Barkle.
Did the operators down there give you any explanation as to why they didn't apply for a renewal prior to the permit expiring?
Yeah, they were unaware that it was that it had come up that quickly, my understanding is, but we contacted them, notified them, and they got their application together for submission.
So they backdated their letter then, I guess?
My understanding is it came in before Christmas, but I'm not sure of the exact dates.
Well, it stamped January 23rd, and you just said they were unaware until you contacted them in January.
No, we contacted them before Christmas.
Before Christmas. Yeah. And then they forgot to send off the application?
No.
Sorry.
There is some, you didn't speak yet about the fact that the owner of the property actually doesn't agree that they need to have a renewal?
No.
So the owner of the property is interpreting our bylaws differently than what staff is interpreting them. And I know that, Jeremy, you responded to Mr. Friesen.
Yes. Emailed back to Mr. Friesen. He was concerned that we were going through a full public process rather than simply renewing it. Our own procedures, bylaw, and the Local Government Act are silent on the renewal process, and in the absence of specifics about how you would handle a renewal versus a new application, the recommendation, the standard process, and legal opinions are that you go through the full public process as though it were a new application. So whether or not they even got the application in on time is almost moot at this point. The process is the same.
So it feels that temporary use permits are supposed to be exactly that, so that it is expected that it needs to be a full process in order to consider another one. If it was if a temporary use permit could just be renewed and renewed and renewed, there's no use having the word temporary in it at all. So it is a new application that's being his argument is it should just be a renewal and just sort of automatically roll over.
Councillor Barkle.
I just wonder if the fact that the application has expired means it's a new application and not a renewal. But apart from that, I remember the discussion when we gave them a 2-year temporary use permit instead of 3. I would have leaned towards a 3-year permit, but the rest of council educated to me to the purpose here and what we were really trying to achieve. So, aren't they in contravention of our bylaw by operating there now that the permit has expired, and they're going to continue to operate in contravention of the bylaw while we decide whether we want to extend it or not?
Right. I mean, so that theoretically, it's finished, and they should. The temporary use is finished, and council could direct staff to say you need to stop them from doing business. They are doing business. I think that staff potentially, again, if our systems were such that we were monitoring all of the permits issued on a timely basis, we would have, 2 months before or 3 months before the end of given them notification that their permit was expiring and got it going. It was overlooked and it didn't happen. So I'm not sure if there's advantages in closing it down now, but council should be considering it as a new application, and whether or not that's how we're processing it, basically.
I would put the onus on the operator, and that this permit is central to their operation, and that they weren't on top of it to make renew their permit is like kind of unbelievable to me. But anyway, that's a comment.
I mean, their argument is that they employ a number of, a large number of people in Summerland, and that they're a viable business. And, in a perfect world, the onus is on them, but it's the same as business licenses. Every year, businesses get a reminder that they're expiring and that they need to renew them. Dog license is the same thing. So yes, in a perfect world, you're absolutely right, but it doesn't always happen. And in some cases like that, you need to have some leeway and say we need to improve our practices, but that you, yeah.
Councillor Boot, Councillor Traynor, Councillor Peak, Councillor Holmes. That's about everybody.
Thank you. So I have I have a kind of a semantics question. Is this a new application, a renewal, or an extension? Because we have all three different terms in the report, and so I'll let you answer that question first, and then
theoretically it has to be, and Jeremy can correct me if I'm wrong, but theoretically it has to be a new application because there's no legislation that talks about extension or renewal of a temporary use permit. So in the absence of legislation talking about any process for those, for renewal or extension, even a request for it is considered a new application.
So if I might, Mr. Mayor, a follow-up question. So if this is a new application, then does this, I guess, second application, does it take the place of their one allowable renewal or extension? Because once you have a temporary use permit, there's only one additional piece. Is that right?
There is an allowable one renewal for another maximum 3 years. So if council wants to consider this, that it was a renewal in process and now it's before council, I don't think it's beyond reason to think of it as a renewal. There is the timeline issue of it did expire. before they made the application, so it could be a new one.
So I guess my concern is then, if this is considered a new application, are they automatically have the ability to renew this new application?
I would think not. I would think not.
Or
Whether
it'll
it's a
just-
break or not, it's maximum 2 3-year terms.
Mr. Strachan.
So I think that there's a bit of the confusion around you can have renewal processes in your bylaws. We're silent on it, and because of that, there isn't a renewal process. So the application is for a renewal, and the legislation allows for a one-time renewal of a temporary use permit. So like Jeremy had mentioned, you could do 3 years and 3 years for a total of 6 years as a max. So this is, because we don't have a renewal process, and other communities I've worked in have a renewal process, where it says if you apply to renew, it's only for 1 year. Or in Vernon, for example, you were allowed to apply for a further 2 years. So there is a maximum that can be put in that, or a separate process that can be done. Because we're silent on that process, we just go through the temporary use permit process again on renewal, but it cannot be done a second time after that.
But having said that, I need to be clear that because it's silent, council could choose the process that you choose. Staff has made the call that we're silent, so even though it's a renewal as such, as far as it being the second time of 2 allowable, they've chosen, for the lack of any other process, to choose that process and say that would be the appropriate. But if council said, no, it's silent, and as the policymakers, we're going to say it just needs to be a renewal with no other further process, that would be in your purview as well.
Okay.
I think so. I think I understand.
Councillor Traynor?
Sorry, I'm just trying to make sense of this all. To me, this is a renewal, essentially, because they're just asking to do the same thing over again. I guess it does need to go through the process again. I think the bigger question is this use zoned for that area? Like, is it allowed to be?
Temporary permit.
That is what a temporary permit is it's not allowable.
Okay,
And
I just wanted to make sure.
And you're getting a temporary permit to allow it instead.
Okay, for another 2 years. Okay.
Or
Up to 3
Up to
max.
3 years.
Up to 3 years, okay. And
So the
there's
process-
no
so-
word on any future plans that we know of for that area, though. And I guess if we were to allow this to go through, it would kind of hold it up for another 2 years.
Not necessarily, because it's the landlord, like, all you're doing is issuing the permit for the land to be used as that. The agreement between the landowner and the operator of the business,
I see what you're saying, yeah.
is
it's
their
independent.
own,
Yeah, okay.
I do, I think council needs to consider whether there's been complaints, which, from what I understand, no complaints, and that it is a business, and it is operating in Summerland. So that is, when we talk about whether or not you do process or not, or you say, in the meantime, while it's vacant land and the landowner's not doing anything else with it, is it something that you impose? And if you don't oppose it, you may choose just to give it its renewal at this point in time.
Councillor Peak?
Yes. Process aside, because however you look at it will make a process happen. With this particular report, it speaks to the fact, should the temporary use become an issue or discourage redevelopment of the site, the temporary use could be terminated. Now, we obviously want to see this property developed. It has far more potential than this particular temporary permit. When we first looked at it and they came forward asking about it, it's a relation who's running the business. Now, whether that can be considered discouraging for the primary owner to be doing further things on the property may be something that's up for debate. But the fact is that some usage on the property in the interim is not a bad thing. It keeps vandalism down. I think there's some other reasons you might look at it. So I see myself supporting this to go forward to the APC to have some discussion.
I
I'll
also
second
believe that, sorry, that the business owner is present if you did want to have that, any conversation with him.
Thank you.
Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I'd like to touch on the same thing. It says that that the temporary use permit provides the property owner with an income stream while they pursue redevelopment. This was the exact same reasoning 2 years ago. And I remember I was arguing at the time is why would you want to be able to provide an income stream? How does that encourage redevelopment? I would think that if you're not making money on it, you'd be more encouraged to develop the property. So my question is, are they pursuing redevelopment? Where are we at with that with this development?
Go ahead.
So they did apply for demolition of the second building that was on the property, and they demolished and took down that building. So they put in structures to allow that to remain with the foundation in place. We haven't received any applications to move forward with development on that site. There was proposals presented to council last year as well as previously, I understand, prior to my being here, about development potential for that site. But the current owners have not moved forward with applications at this point in time.
But they have demolished the building, right?
Correct.
Supplement.
Councillor Holmes, do you more to add?
Yeah, just, do you know, have they applied permission to the province to build a pier? This, when 2 years ago, at the time, that was the key to the whole development, was being able to build a pier, and they knew that was going to take a long time to get through the whole provincial approval process and everything, and that's the reason why they wanted this thing to tide them over, because they knew that approval process for the pier was going to take a long time. So have they applied for approval for the pier?
Any response? Mr. Strachan, you aware of
We
any?
wouldn't know until what we do know is that we haven't been asked for a referral from the province. So it would be my guess that they maybe haven't, but I don't know that for sure.
Councillor Carlson?
I do wonder if there's a way to, actually, I'm just going to put this out there, that a request to renew the temporary use permit authorizing the temporary commercial use of wine storage on Lot 1 DL 455 down at Lakeshore Drive be sent to the Advisory Planning Commission for review.
The seconder, Councillor Peak, thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Because the motion is directing this to the APC. Councillor Carlson?
I just would like to comment that I think that seeing that the large building right on Lake Shore has been demolished and all of that has been taken away, knowing that there are no issues with the neighbors and that this is a business that is being run and it's doing a good thing for our lower town, I believe, from what I've seen and heard, that it would be unfortunate for us not to encourage this to continue, even if it was just for enough time that they were able to find somewhere else to go. But I don't think we can just pull the rug out from under their feet and expect that that would look very good. So I hope that the Advisory Planning Commission will come back with some suggestion and that we can continue to work towards a really great project down on the front, on the lakeshore. And I think that this is a piece of that. Even though it seems to take a while for these things to get moving, I still believe that something will happen.
Councillor Barkle?
I don't think that failing to renew the process, the permit would be pulling the rug out from under their feet, since they knew at the time they made their first application that it was only for 2 years. Council could have given them 3. Obviously, our intention was to limit the amount of time that they could do this, because it's actually a disincentive to develop. it's not at all, it's a non-conforming use. And as I said, I previously didn't have a lot of problem with it, but now I see that, you know, what we have to do, or have been convinced by and educated by Mr. Holmes, I feel, or Councillor Holmes, and that, you know, I don't feel there's any unfairness to them. They knew right from the start that they had 2 years to, temporary permit of 2 years, and that if we were going to renew it, we would have given them 3.
Okay,
Not
like to
unless council wants to invite
Okay.
him to speak.
The owner can come and speak if council would like to do that, but it has to be unanimous. Everybody agree? No, you don't agree?
No.
Okay, it's not unanimous. I'm sorry, sir. Okay. Okay, council, we have the motion moved and seconded, or, yeah, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Councillor Trainer, then Councillor Boot.
So if we were to, if they were to,
Can you use the microphone here?
if the APC were to approve this, would it backdate then? Would their next 2 years or 3 years?
It would
or
come
whatever?
back to council,
Come back.
and
Okay.
council would determine the length of time at that time. So at
Okay.
this point in time, the motion is only to refer it to the APC for their comments.
Okay, and it can only be renewed, if that's the right word, one more time.
This would be the last time that it
Okay.
could be renewed
So then
in this
that
form.
business would essentially have some certainty on when they would be.
Right,
have
and
to find
hopefully
a new
relocate
location.
to somewhere else in
Okay.
Summerland.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm
Councillor
okay
Boot.
because
You okay?
my question was
Oh, okay. I'm
very
sorry.
similar to hers, thank you.
Okay, is everybody okay? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, 11.3. Mr. Strachan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this application is a rezoning and OCP amendment application for a large property. The application, the purpose of the application is to allow for a farm help residential unit to be sited on the property. The application is to amend the OCP at zoning for a portion of the property, not for the entire property. And this is the proposed location for a mobile home on the site. And they've indicated this would help them to manage the property. The portion of property is only the portion that's outside of the gravel pit. So they've got an existing gravel pit area on the easternmost portion, that's this portion here, which is a portion of the parcel, that they wish to leave in its current OCP designation and zoning, but wish to change the OCP and zoning for the remainder of the parcel. This would move it from forest grazing to A2 agriculture, large acreage. And it's noted in the report to council that it was previously within the ALR but was excluded, and previously was part of the regional district and was annexed with previous zoning that was different than our current zoning in Summerland. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, questions of the planner? Okay, someone like to bring a motion forward? Councillor Carlson.
I will move that staff be directed to prepare an OCP amendment bylaw for a portion of Block ADL 2886 to amend the land use designation of the property from open to agriculture for consideration by council, and that staff be directed to prepare a rezoning bylaw for the same property to rezone the property from forest grazing to A2 agriculture large acreage for consideration by council.
Seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Peak.
So my question to Dean is that they are actually, this would then put them in, they would be the zoning would then fit the usage they have on the property, which is a berry farm and paddocks?
Correct.
Anybody else? Okay, oh, you brought the motion forward, okay. All in favor? Motion's carried. Opposed? None? It's carried. Okay, moving ahead to 11.4. It's a DVP. Mr. Strachan.
Thank you. So this development variance permit application is for 523 Stoner Street. So this application, this property was recently rezoned, and now the application has come forward for a development variance permit. The proposal is to subdivide the property, and when the property is subdivided, it would alter the setbacks for the new parcel as well as for the old. So the variances is related to the front yard setback, to reduce it to 3 meters, as well as to reduce the rear yard setback, excuse me, from 7.5 meters down to 2 meters for the existing house. So as you can see on this parcel here, this used to be one large parcel, and as such, the front yard setback would have been on Woods Avenue for the existing house. But once this is subdivided, the front yard would then become Stoner, and then the rear yard becomes too small for the zoning bylaw. So they require those two variances in order to move forward with subdivision of the land. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Do you have any correspondence?
For Stoner Street, yes, we did receive an email from Don and Marilyn Cristante in favor.
Not
In favor. Oh, no, not in favor. Not in favor. And we did receive an email, the letter attached from Dan Rogers, sort of reiterating the reasons.
Okay, thank you. Now, there's an opportunity for the proponent to be the first one to speak. So if you would like to do so, come forward now.
I'm good, thank you.
You okay? Thank you very much. Okay, council.
There's public
any-
And the public
Oh, I'm
comment.
sorry, yes. Anybody from the public like to speak to this? Okay, thank you. Okay, questions of the planner, council? Councilor Trainer.
Mr. Strachan, could you explain once more why there's the need for the reduced setback on the Stoner side? That's the front of the house, right? Is that correct?
It is, and it would, if you were to apply the full 6 meter setback, you would shrink the building envelope significantly. Because this becomes the rear yard setback, so it would have to be 7.5 meters. And they're just creating a building footprint that's 12 meters by 11 meters. If you were to reduce it further 3 meters, it would reduce it significantly.
And with a setback of only 3 meters, is that enough room for parking?
The parking, because it's a dual frontage lot, could come off of Woods to a garage. They would not be able to have vehicle parking in the driveway. They would have to have it fully on site. So at 3 meter setback, they wouldn't be able to have parking between the front of their garage and the street as parking that's allocated, required to be allocated. But they could off Woods Avenue, which has the full setback days.
So they couldn't have a garage facing Stoner?
They could, but they wouldn't be able to calculate those parking stalls in the driveway as part of their parking allocation.
Okay.
Any other questions for the planner? Councilor Booth.
Just one question that in the first paragraph of the circulation comments about the potential for there not being enough water in terms of the fire department requirement. If they have to upgrade the water main or put in another hydrant, where do the costs lie for that?
So the actual subdivision itself requires that you provide adequate water service. So they'd have to provide adequate water service, and it would be their cost as part of the subdivision process.
Okay.
Or it would be part of the building process as well. So it would be either one of
So
those,
one of
and it would be
those.
the developer's cost.
Thank you.
Okay. Someone like to bring a motion forward? Councilor Peak?
I'll bring to vary the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 6.0 to 3.0, and to propose Lot A section to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 7.5 meters to 2.0 meters for the existing single detached house
Be
at
approved?
523 Stoner.
Okay. Be approved? Yeah.
Be approved, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, please. Councilor Carlson, thank you. Okay, any further discussion of this topic? Okay.
I do have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
It relates to the resolution. I can't read what it says in the blue there. The building, the subdivision is to build an additional home, right? Right? So I'm wondering why the resolution talks about changing the setbacks for the existing home.
Sure, so the existing house on the property now, the way that the zoning bylaw is written, Woods Avenue is its front yard, so this is its rear yard, and so the setbacks work. However, if you subdivide it, and this becomes a new lot, then this no longer has frontage to Woods Avenue, so the existing house's configuration changes to a Stoner Street being now its front yard setback.
Okay.
And this becomes its rear yard. And this is
Okay.
where they need the variance to sanction the existing
Okay.
house's siting in order to allow the subdivision.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
So nothing is changing on the remainder lot. It's just when you create a new lot boundary here, it alters what the bylaw says are your setbacks. So
Right.
nothing's changing on the existing home, it's just the way the bylaw words your setbacks, it suddenly makes this
Affect
to be
that,
your rear
right.
yard.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
you're welcome. Okay. Motion, mover and seconded it? Right. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. 11.5, Mr. Strachan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a variance application for 1500 Harding Street. This particular application is also to allow for subdivision of a property. The lot configuration due to the cul-de-sac is creating a couple of issues with setbacks. One being they've requested a shallower front yard setback, the other being the lot depth. So the bylaw requires you have 30 meters, and because this dedication of cul-de-sac is required, this lot would not be 30 meters in depth. However, it meets the rest of the provisions of that particular zoning, but wouldn't meet that 20 or 30 meter setback, so they've asked for that 5 meter variance there. And the footprint of the home would be somewhat restricted, so you have the rear yard setback, and then by having a 6 meter front yard setback, you'd be pretty restricted on the size of home you could construct on there. So they've asked for a variance to that piece. And part of the information they've provided is looking at the siting of adjacent homes and how that line works, because this cul-de-sac dedication carries through here and was not provided by the existing home on Lot 5. So this happened prior to this dedication taking place. So actually, the siting of the house will be somewhat in line with existing development. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. Okay, anybody else? Oh, sorry, Counselor Boot?
That's an RSD2 lot.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, 694 square meters.
So do we want to ask Jeremy?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I'm missing the beat here. Okay, any correspondence?
No, I've not received any.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now is the opportunity for the proponent to be the first to speak to this. Would you like to come forward? Please, here. Guess not. Okay. Any of the public would like to speak to this issue? Okay, seeing none, we'll move ahead. Okay, council, would someone like to bring a motion forward, please? Councilor Peak?
Development various application, zoning bylaw 2004-50 to reduce the minimum lot depth from 30.0 meters to 25.0 meters in section 1036, to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 6.0 meters to 3.0 meters for proposed lot 1, to allow for the property at 1500 Harding Street to be subdivided into 3 single detached housing lots, be approved.
Seconder, please. Counselor Boot, thank you. Okay, any further discussion here? Fairly straightforward. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, 11.6, Mr. Strachan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a development variance permit application for 19009 Lakeshore Drive. This application is related to an accessory building, so a swimming pool, which is classified as an accessory building in our bylaw to be located in the front yard area. So the way our zoning bylaw is structured, anything that's in front of the house, so between the road and the front of the building, is considered the front yard area. So they've got a garage and so forth and carriage house component at the front, and the proposal is to construct the pool between the accessory buildings. But as this is still part of the front yard area, they require a further variance for it. The second part of the variance is to allow for a 6-foot fence, which is to, because this is the front yard area, it's restricted, and this is for the safety of the pool. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any correspondence related to this?
Nope.
Nothing? Okay. Yes, there is.
There's two.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that was printed, that's right.
Okay, so council has that in their possession. Okay. Okay. Okay, would the proponent like to speak to this? You have the first opportunity to speak. Seeing none. Anybody from the public like to speak to this? Okay, council, would someone like to bring this forward, please? Mr. Markle.
Move it as written.
Okay, seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. Okay, any further discussion on this?
Just for clarification, that is to approve the development variance permit application.
Yep. Okay. Councillor Barkle?
I would comment that when I first read this application, I didn't think it would be too controversial. Then I read the couple of letters that we had from neighbors in opposition, and that certainly had to give them some weight. But in the final analysis, I thought really there's no difference between this application and the situation for maybe lots of other places where they want to have a pool, only that they happen to require a variance because it's on the lake shore. And the noise issues and things could apply to any other neighborhood as well.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Can we come forward on that? The motion come forward? Someone like to bring that motion
Yeah.
forward, or we already
Yes,
done
it's
that?
been brought forward and
Okay, I'm
seconded.
sorry. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, we're moving ahead to staff reports 12.1. Ms. Rothery, or actually the CAO, would you like to introduce?
Yeah, just to note that the staff recommendation, the motion that's been recommended by staff is actually modified, and because we did talk about it at the committee of the whole meeting this morning, and we passed a recommendation which we'll bring forward for council's consideration tonight. Did you want to read that one out?
Yeah, I can read it out. So at the committee of the whole, it was recommended that staff be directed to implement the automated curbside collection program and communication plan as presented at the February 26th, 2018 committee of the whole.
So Tammy Rothery, our Sustainability Climate Action Coordinator, and Chris are going to just give a brief overview of what the CART program is looking like at this point in time, what council discussed this morning entailed in that report, just to give a broad overview. And then if council does affirm it here tonight, we will begin the process of communicating and right away.
Okay. Yeah, so we understand there are a lot of questions that are coming forward and some angst in the community regarding the transition to carts, which is scheduled to occur in July this year. Staff have done a lot of research with other communities that have gone through a similar transition in the recent past. And based on that, we've taken some of the lessons learned and highlighted or included those in our components of our program. So we're looking to roll the carts out in June. That would include a base set for garbage, yard waste and recycling, 120 for garbage, 240 liters for yard waste and recycling. We look at a 3-month trial period that would be required to utilize that base set before any switch outs would be approved. So then following that, the switch outs would be permitted. And then we would look at having new tenants or new homeowners be allowed to revert back to that base set if there were any changes that were made during the process of someone else in that property. So like the CEO said, communication of this is critical, and so what we're looking to do, as we've already set up, one of the key components was to get the carts out and get them visible in the community. So we have a base set here in the Municipal Hall, one at the arena for residents to see and view and understand how large they actually are and what they can contain. We're looking to get a FAQ sheet out on our website and Facebook and distribute it out to residents. Set up a dedicated email address and phone number to handle any questions that come in related to the carts. Have a tracking sheet for those questions as well so that we can follow up as needed with those residents specifically. We'll have an updated calendar that'll be rolled out mid-year. The one that went out in January was only for 6 months, so including in that new one, we'll have some cart-specific information and will be distributed prior to July. With the carts themselves will come an information pamphlet along with the information that's required on how you set them out, how you store them, etc. And then looking to hire some additional summer staff to assist with the rollout and education of the carts and into the first few months of the program.
Okay, questions, Councillor Peak?
Yes, could you describe what switch outs actually means?
Yeah.
It was mentioned in our report this morning, but that word doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we start with the base set, you're given a specific size of the 3 carts. So 120 liters for garbage, 240 liters, for recycling and for yard waste. So a switch out would allow you to either upsize those carts or downsize them. The 3 sizes that would be available would be 120, 240, or 360 liters. So a switch out would be upsizing or downsizing the size of that cart. And when we talked about a trial period and allowing one free switch out, it would be of up to the 3 carts, but have it occur at the same time.
So in our communication, it's going to, when you hear these numbers, it means absolutely nothing, and we see that. So we need to make sure that's why we actually have the physical carts downstairs labeled with what size they actually are. When we do the newsletter or what the communications, we'll try to put them in some sort of context so people start getting an idea. Switch out exactly that. We recognize that there are some families that live in a house and they're going to want a larger trash. They have lots of space to store it. We know that there's people that live in a home that is a single person and they just simply don't need the standard size and they're going to ask for a smaller one. So we're going to allow for that switch out.
Thank you. And if I may, I know that there was an expression of difficulty in terms of yard waste and whether they would still be able to have an unlimited amount of yard waste. So the yard waste bins can go out every 2 weeks?
Yeah, the current program is bi-weekly, correct.
Bi-weekly, year-round. The idea would be that because there's actually a cart for the material, that by able to fill the cart out often, they won't require that ongoing unlimited amount. Council will be or from your conversation this morning, you'll be monitoring that to determine if that is effective.
Right, and from the discussion this morning, if you had a larger bundle of branches or whatever, you could actually bundle them and purchase a tag to go on them for $250 to have it taken away. Perhaps you didn't have enough for a truckload, but you had some extra that didn't fit in a bin, or you couldn't cut it up to put in a bin. Is that another alternative?
There would be still sizes that we'd want those bundles, and also the craft bags could be utilized for additional material, but they would have to be tagged in order for the contractor to pick them up.
Okay, and one other issue that has come of concern to me was a space to put containers where there are convergent driveways. So there may be 3 driveways that come up to an edge of a road that's quite hilly, and there was concern about whether there might actually be space. If people are expressing that, is that something you'll be looking after en route?
Exactly, that's what they should be calling in and bringing those questions and those issues forward. Some other municipalities for those situations, actually took sample carts out to the residents to look at where they could be viewed. Shared driveways is a concern that we'll have to look at on a case-by-case.
So
Thank
we're
you.
really thinking that in this communication plan, that working one-on-one with concerned residents is a focus that we'll have. There's a number that it won't be a problem for, but we recognize that that'll be the best way in dealing with it. And our staff downstairs are being amazing already. When somebody comes to the counter, Jody or anybody else that's at the front counter, we'll walk through it with them and come out to the carts and help them understand the system a little better.
Good.
Aaron Trainer.
Yeah, I realize. I'd just like to say, to add to what the CAO said, we've had a number of events and projects in the municipality over the last couple of years, and I think there's no denying that staff has done an incredible job of communicating and getting to residents, either one-on-one or various methods, and PVR 10 is a very good example of how well things can go. So I know that's a big stressor for this particular project as well. So I think the experience we've had is that we're going to do the same sort of thing in terms of an excellent communication plan to reach on this project. Councillor Trainer?
I think this morning Councillor Holmes brought up too that many people in Summerland already have their own garbage cans. So we were gonna, I think, offer a program to recycle cans right now if people wanted to get rid of the ones they have.
That's
Is
one
that
of the
right?
ideas, just to set up a location where they could drop off their carts and possibly allow others to take them if they want to utilize them for another purpose.
Okay.
And any that would remain there after that period of time would be disposed of.
Okay. I think that's a good thing to do so that people have that option.
Councillor Holmes?
So the carts are associated with a specific property, so if when the property is sold and new people move in, the carts stay, right?
Correct.
Is that correct? Right. So if a new family moves in, and they wanted a different size cart, they would, if this is after the 3-month period, what would the policy be on that?
Yeah, the thought was that we would allow them to revert back to the base set at no charge, no switch-out charge. But if they wanted to modify from that, there would be the associated fees that would be required.
Councillor Barkle?
Yes, could you talk about the fees? For example, let's say I needed a 240-liter black cart for ordinary garbage and no cart for yard waste. What would the fees be?
The actual numbers still need to be determined for those.
They will be part of the bylaw.
Yeah.
They still need to come forward to council.
Okay.
Councillor Peak?
I'd like to bring the motion forward.
Go ahead, please.
So it's to implement, I may not get it correctly, but implement curbside and service with a communication plan.
The one that Jeremy said, or?
Pardon me?
Yeah, that's the essence of it. I may not have all the words.
Right. So it's
How's
that
that,
council would, basically what you're doing is you're approving your recommendation that you made this morning.
I'll second it.
Okay, is that different from what we have here in front of us?
Yeah, that's what
It
I
is
said at the
different than
start.
what we have here. That's correct, Peter.
Okay.
You have
Okay, seconder,
someone
please.
with a comment,
Oh.
No,
don't
no.
No, actually, we can't do that.
They can speak it
for public comment?
at the end.
At the end?
At the beginning and the end there was, yeah.
There will be later. Okay. Secretary? Councillor Carlson, thank you. Any further discussion?
I just have a question for clarification. This morning, we decided that we would go with the different colors on the lids, not the whole container, is that right?
We're going with black containers with the different
colored
lids.
lids, right, thanks.
Yeah.
And now that council has given direction to council, to staff, we will now prepare everything and forward it all to council in its finalized form and start to roll it out for the input.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. 12.2, Okanagan flood event update. Mr. Johnson.
All right, this report's to give council an update on where we're at with this process. To date, we've hired shoreline and structural engineers to assess the damaged areas along the shoreline and any structures that were in that area. The final engineering reports are expected to be submitted by the end of the month. Preliminary findings noted that there was some shoulder erosion on Lakeshore Drive North. As a result, staff completed some minor repairs there in November, which extended the life of the temporary measures and allowed the assessment to be completed and the ultimate design of what an appropriate solution for that area to be determined in 2018. The F&I docks at Rotary Beach obviously were damaged as well and have been identified as a priority to complete early this year. Discussions with FLNRO have occurred as far as what's required for the rebuilding of those docks. We're awaiting final comments from the structural engineer as far as the condition of the existing piles that remain in the water and if there are any improvements that are required to those structures before we rebuild those decks. In the report, Schedule A showed a full list of the projects that have been identified, along with priority ranking, status, the next steps, and where we're at in the recovery process. Some of the next steps coming up in February, like I noted, we'll get the final engineering reports and we'll initiate the FLNRO applications. In March and April, we'll move to sending in the applications to DFA, looking at some of the schedules and milestones for each of the projects. Initiate the dock and the boat launch repairs where FLNRO permits through their applications, and then start preparing the tenders for the pathway repairs. May and June, that's when we'll look at doing the construction on the pathways, restoring the minor areas along with the park benches and the picnic tables, looking at some electrical work in the lighthouse landing area that we had to raise, look at a final solution there, and then start planning for the 2 fall projects that will need to proceed. The intent is to limit the construction impact during the summer months of July and August, and then to start work on the riprap of the shoreline on Lakeshore Drive and one sidewalk near the Summerland Resort following the environmental window, which would allow us to start work in the water after October 15th. So DFA has been contacted a number of times to date regarding our claim, and they've confirmed that the majority of our projects will be eligible for funding. It's important to note that an approved project may not receive the full 80% funding. An example of that is if you're looking at some sort of enhancement to what was there previously, that enhancement would not be funded, but replacement of the existing structure based on that estimated amount would be.
And at times, when we get into the fine details, there's a little bit of pushing and that needs to be done. What they may deem an enhancement may not be the district's view of that it's an enhancement, and I think it's important that we stay on top of it and make sure that we're getting all the funds that we can get can be attributed.
Good point. In the report in Table 1, some preliminary cost estimates for the 3 major projects were listed, a total of $680,000 for those 3 projects, with the approximate DFA funding and district funds noted as well. So once the scope of the work for these projects is confirmed, the applications will be submitted to DFA via the recovery process, and we'll proceed with construction as soon as we have approvals in place.
Okay, Councillor Carlson.
What happens if we get more flooding this year? To your plan, does it just get pushed until we can, or do we think we have to review all of it all over again because there might be more damage? Do we have any idea?
We would just, at this point in time, we need to continue moving forward, and they're already monitoring really closely what's going on with the levels, and we would have to assess at the time.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, just for the F&I docks, the DFA funding is quite a bit less than 80%. Is that because we're planning enhancements on those docks, or?
Yeah, that was based on the footnote in the report that we were looking at. That was based on replacing the decking with composite material instead of timber that was there previously. So that was the note of the increase, but I guess that's where we're looking. There are some options with those docks. We can replace the existing timber material that was there. We can look at composite for a longer term. But with the composite option, then there may be some pile improvements that would be required. So we're just on the on the verge of getting the engineering structural reports that will give us that information to allow us to look at those options in a little bit more detail. But for these cost estimates, that's the assumptions that were made.
But then it would come to council and you would look at available resources, cost-benefit analysis, and then you would make the final decision on where we would spend the extra money to get something better, where you want us to push harder, and et cetera.
So anything other than a complete switch of for like is considered an enhancement, essentially.
The term is to replace what was there,
Yeah.
but like our CAO noted, there is definitely some discussions that can be had on what we're looking at specifically on the case by case for each project to see if it's considered an enhancement and will receive funding or not.
Yeah, I certainly know that in a past municipality that I was at, in the after effects of a flooding, we did need to have a lot of conversation and common sense on if the costs are the same, but it's a product that lasts longer, that it doesn't just get thrown out as not as a replacement, et cetera.
So I just have a quick question of Mr. Johnson. When you talk about enhancement, like using composite material, et cetera, is from an engineering standpoint, are you sort of looking at the ability of that kind of enhancement to resist the sort of destruction that occurred on the types of materials that were used on the last one? Because it seems obvious to me that you'd want to try and resist the kind of destruction that occurred. So is that the case, perhaps?
Yeah, and a third option that would be looked at as well would be a floating dock structure in that scenario. But those would be the different options that we're looking at.
Yeah.
The ones that were there previously weren't designed to handle wave action that had seen.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Boot?
Thank you. I know that we talked about this a little bit when we were talking about the capital works in the budget last, whatever day it was, Monday or whatever. I'm wondering how much of this, so perhaps the 245,000, I'm wondering if that amount is what is going to be showing in the budget, or will it be a little bit higher than that or lower than that given the priorities that you've laid out there? Does that question make any sense?
In the capital plan that's coming forward?
Yes.
We've included these three major projects in there on the amounts that are shown at this
And
point.
for the district funds at 245?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, would someone like to bring that motion forward, please? Councillor Holmes, would you?
I'll bring the flood recovery update forward to be received for information.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you. Any further discussion? I think remains to be seen what comes further down the road. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. So we have no new business. Now we're moving on to bylaws 14.1. But council, I'm just going to advise you that this is the item we had the public hearing on this evening. And it's a relatively normal procedure for us to want to digest the comments we've had. Is there any, desire to do that, to delay the dealing of this till the next meeting? Is that
Can
what-
I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
Typically, here in the District of Summerland, Council has been considering the bylaw in the same meeting that the public hearing has. We just want to make sure you know you don't have to. The risk when you don't is that you can't talk about it, you can't receive any new information. That's generally why you proceed to move forward.
Yeah.
So it's on the agenda, but if you didn't want to, you could schedule it at the next meeting.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Carlson.
I have a question regarding, to clarify regarding some comments made. The time frame for bringing this bylaw back. I know that it was brought up during first reading, but after hearing and understanding, I'd like some clarification on whether or not it is too soon and if we should be, if there's something there that we should be discussing.
It's an interpretation issue, as all of our items are. And staff has interpreted it as from what I understand, as a reapplication. And therefore, it's not the same application being brought forward. As mentioned, it could be deemed as very similar, but they've paid for a new application. It's a new application, and that's how it's being considered.
And so the comment regarding it's the same bylaw for the same zoning at the same location isn't necessarily, it's different than being, it's not the same application, therefore it doesn't matter. Is that what we've interpreted as?
Our word, that's, Dean, did you want to speak to that while I look for this?
I just don't want it to move forward on this if we are in contravention of a bylaw that we should be following.
So the original application actually was an OCP amendment and rezoning application. And then council adopted the OCP and then provided some guidance to the applicant, who then submitted a new application for rezoning only with a revised subdivision plan. It did only reduce it by one lot, but also reconfigured the lots so that the lots on Wharf Street were enlarged to the size, the width of RSD2. And then the lots along Nixon were enlarged to be the same size as RSD2, but they couldn't quite meet the dimension requirements to change it to RSD2. So there was revisions that were made, and then it becomes, as the CAO mentioned, a level of interpretation as what is a new application.
And I think that certainly if it proceeded to third reading, that we would absolutely get a legal opinion on whether it, just to ensure that there's nothing else in Interpretation Act or something.
You mean if third reading were to pass?
That's if we were going towards adoption, sorry. Yeah, if third reading was, before we adopted, which wouldn't be happening tonight, because it does need MOT approval as well, we would, just because of the questions that were being asked today.
Okay, now, what's council's wish?
I would
deal
personally
with it
like to
this
see
evening?
this move forward.
Okay, thank you, that's what I want to know.
And so I will bring the motion that zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw 2018-002 be read a third time.
May we have a seconder? Councillor Peak, thank you. Okay, discussion? Questions?
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
When this was first brought forward, the last time, there was covenants put on that they would have to put trees on the lots. Does that still exist, or is that being removed?
When it was brought forward,
The last time it was, we had it was discussed, the previous application, sorry.
yes, and that option, when this was introduced to council, it didn't include the covenant, and council certainly could add the covenant again to this application, so it wasn't added when it was initially brought forward to council this time around, but they certainly could add that as a condition requiring, and previously it was requiring them to install a tree in the front yard area when a house is constructed.
Okay, Councillor Carlson.
Would you be able to explain one more time what you just explained regarding RSD2 versus RSD1 and why RSD2 doesn't fit for the lots on Wharf and Nixon, and how close they are to being RSD2?
So the lots that changed were on the frontage of Nixon as well as the frontage of Wharf. When they originally had 6 lots in this block, they reduced it to 5 lots in the block to keep the alignment of the 3-meter pedestrian walkway that crosses through here. So they didn't have a jog in that walkway. They left the first lot as is. However, removed 1 lot from this block and made these lots on Wharf Street larger, as well as these lots are larger. How that works as far as configuration, the lots that are fronting onto Wharf Street meet the width for the RSD2. However, they're not deep enough to create an area that meets the RSD2. So they are close to it, but they're not quite to that 650. And then the lots that are fronting onto Nixon, they are RSD2 size. They're over the size for RSD2. However, they are 30 centimeters too narrow to meet the RSD2. So we discussed with the applicant about changing those to RSD2, but because you're restricted by the length of the full property and the width of the full property, there is just not enough space to create that and maintain the 21 lots without removing further lots from the application.
Thank you.
I'd like to just clarify on the lot size, when I was asking earlier on those lots on on Nixon, I'm sorry. The 4 instead of the extra one. I thought those are they not 655 meters?
Yeah, these 4 lots here are 655 square meters. The minimum lot size in RSD2 is 650. So they are over the size. However, the frontage is not quite the full width, so they're required to have a frontage dimension 18 meters, and we're at 17.711. So they're 30 centimeters short of the width requirement for the RSD2.
They're 30 centimeters short of that, but they actually exceed the RSD area.
Correct.
Right, okay.
And the lots that front onto Wharf Street are at 539, so they
Yes.
are not large enough to meet the RSD2 requirement. However, they are wide enough to meet the RSD.
Okay.
They're 18 meters wide.
Okay, now, the other question I had concerning this, the overall density, the allowable density in this ranges from what, is it 11 to 20 units per hectare, or is it less than that?
The OCP allows for between 4 and 22 units per hectare under low density, which is the OCP designation that's
Okay.
been applied to.
And this is 13.2 units?
Correct.
Right, okay. Okay, Councillor Holmes.
So one of the issues, I believe, is school safety, and I think reducing it from 6 to 5 does help in that respect. But I accept, I accept from our engineering people that a sidewalk there isn't a good idea. But I think there's still a safety concern there when you think it's just going to be an open road. And is there any consideration of putting maybe a curb like they have on Prairie Valley Road for Giant's Head? Something just to ensure that's safety for kids going to school.
Mr. Strachan?
So as was noted, we may not be able to construct a sidewalk as known with a curb and a full sidewalk that we normally see because of drainage concerns. We still do have requirements in our bylaw for pedestrian safety, so there would be some form of pedestrian structure that would be there. But the previous response we had is it may not be a sidewalk, it may be a pedestrian access that's separated in some way, or it may have a low curb. And those designs would be done up by the engineers and then reviewed by our engineering staff to ensure that they've got drainage. It's going to be still adequate for those structures.
So the issue is drainage?
The issue in this neighborhood is drainage.
Yeah, but I mean the issue as far as not having a sidewalk per se, a cement sidewalk is drainage.
Correct.
So other engineering options like a grasscrete sidewalk could be possible.
Yeah, there's other options that
In
are
order
out there.
to,
The bylaw.
what I'm getting at, Mr. Strachan, is to
Yes.
allow drainage is what I'm saying. There may be options to allow drainage and still achieve the safety that a sidewalk might
Correct.
have.
Just follow. So whatever those options that come up with, would the developer pay for those? They'd be responsible?
They would be responsible.
Okay, thanks.
As part of their off-site works at subdivision, they'd be required to construct them.
And that's where the confusion always comes in, because the whole all of the subdivision and development bylaw, council doesn't see that coming forward here as part of this plan. So that's where, that's what we're working through. We talked about Hunter's Hill, for example. That's all the work that's been worked on since the approval was given by council. all of the things that needs to be done to meet that bylaw.
Councillor Carlson?
So is it within that bylaw that this subdivision would be guaranteed to stay at 21 lots instead of changing the way that things sometimes do? Is that something that council sets or right now as part of this, or is that something that goes through subdivision bylaw as well?
So the approving officer has been given direction through council, not direction through council, but guidance through council as part of the rezoning process as to how this would be configured. One of the reasons that we don't cement these configurations at rezoning is that reason of engineering and roadway engineering. However, the overall layout and the intent of rezoning is meant to be carried forward through the subdivision process.
Absolutely.
The approving officer has a role of community interest, and council, by carrying this through public hearing as the plan, would carry community interest forward. So the approving officer would take that into consideration in approving a subdivision and would be ill-advised to look at a plan that was different than this.
I can't I mean, I don't know the history of what happened with Lighthouse Landing, but certainly in any of my time being involved in municipalities, if a council approved a rezoning with a plan like this, the approving officer is not going to approve something that has a different number of lots and would be expected not to have a job, even though they have the authority. If that ever happened, it's not something that you would expect to ever happen.
And with that, what about the facade and the idea that things will look a certain way? Is that also the approving officer and part of that same
Design scheme, you mean?
Yeah, all of that.
So statutory building schemes are established by the developer. They aren't established through the district, and we actually are not included on those covenants.
Okay.
So the design criteria and so forth are not outlined in those, or that are outlined in those covenants are not enforced by the district. They are between the developer and the purchaser of the lot.
Okay.
Councillor Peak?
Yes, I'd like to make sure that the covenant regarding trees, that it goes forward.
So as part of your resolution, you'd want to include a condition that a 219 restrictive covenant be placed on title, or a covenant be placed on title. Something may not need to be a 219, excuse me, that's probably incorrect. A
Just
covenant be
restrictive
registered on title
covenant, yeah.
that requires the installation of a tree in the front yard area at the time of building. And the way we enforce that is we make it a condition in the building permit that the tree be installed before occupancy is granted, satisfying that covenant's requirement.
Councillor Barkle?
Maybe you spoke to it already, but I missed it. What's the size of these lots on Britain, like the smallest ones along the, sort of in the middle of the subdivision?
The smaller lots in the middle?
Yeah,
So you're referring to these ones on the inside?
those ones and then the other side of them.
They're 510 and 520, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, so these ones are 510 along this component here. The one at the bottom is 515, and then these are all 510. And then the ones on the interior are 520.
Okay, so an RSD1 is 460 and RSD2 is 650?
Correct. So the lots are not built to the minimum of the RSD1. The minimum RSD1 is that 460. These ones are starting at between, so the lots at the very top here are 508. They go to 520 in the middle, and then to the larger lot size on Nixon and Wharf.
655?
Yes. And that, again, is more related to just the lot is the lot, right? So you're going to, there's not enough space to add any additional lots. It's just what the dimension is of the existing property is limiting on what you can do.
Councillor Peak?
Yes, there was discussion about carriage houses, and how does that fit, or how does it apply on these lots?
The RSD1 does have provisions that allow for carriage homes, and we kind of discussed this a little bit with council, is that you have to create a 3-meter thoroughfare in order to have a carriage house, because it has to be sited in the backyard. So you would have to reduce the size of the home in order to create the buildable envelope 4-inch carriage home. So you're not going to get more massing, you're just going to get a smaller house with a garage separated. So with a smaller property like that, it's somewhat limiting. So it wouldn't be a likely option that many of these property owners would consider, because you'd have to make the house very, very small in order to be able to. So for example, if you have a lot that's 14 meters wide, you have to have a minimum 3-meter setback on one side in order to have vehicles passing through from the front to the back. So you'd be making the house quite a bit smaller in order to have the carriage house. So the net result is not more building mass on the property. It's actually going to be fairly similar to what you would have with just the larger single-family dwelling. You'd shrink the single family, and then you'd be able to have an accessory garage building.
Thank you very much.
So, for my own clarification here, when we talk about 40% lot coverage, the potential 40% lot coverage for a home, so that's taking whatever the, thinking in terms of what percentage means, that regardless of the lot size, somebody can build a house that's 40% of the size of the lot, correct?
Yeah, you only get so many blocks of Lego. How you lay them out is kind of how it works. You don't get more blocks.
Yeah.
So this scenario with an RSD1 would be more in line with having a lane down the back.
Yeah.
So if you had an urban setting like we have in and around downtown here, we have lanes, then the carriage house begins to make sense, because you don't have to shrink the width of the house in order to get that drive aisle to come front to back. So the carriage home concept on smaller lots is really around a more urban setting where you have district lanes, where you can actually have access from the rear lane, have the carriage house truly in the back, with a single-family dwelling facing out to the street without that restriction of width.
I guess my rationale for asking the question is that, when you have allowable 40%, then the house size will increase to match the lot size. So when people these days seems like they're building out tremendously and the house looks large, they're only allowed to build to 40% of the actual lot size. And if a smaller lot is there, then they're still only allowed to build to 40% of the lot size. So, there's a tendency to, if it's a larger lot, you build a larger house because you can. And that's what I think I've seen throughout the community and many others, in terms of people saying, well, everything looks crowded, because regardless of the lot size, you can build to 40% of the area of the lot.
That has been the trend with massing.
Yeah.
We talked about the RSD2 lots and the RSD1 or the RSD3. The bigger the lot generally has been the trend in recent years is to build to the maximum for the setback provisions or the allowable site coverage. And as the lot gets bigger, the house does as well.
So, Councillor Carlson, you're going to go ahead, please.
If there's more
Councillor
questions,
Traynor.
I can wait. I just have more
Councillor
some
Traynor.
comments.
With RSD2, the maximum for this piece of property would be 17 lots. Is that correct?
Possibly
Allowable?
could. It between 14 and 17.
Between
is sort of-
14 and 17.
So what happens is you have to, first of all, you'd have to do a survey design, because there hasn't been done. It's just a rough estimate on what lots would be. So Brighton Road you wouldn't be able to do 3 rows. You would have to bring Brighton to the center.
Okay.
And you would have lots on the inside and lots on the outside.
Okay. I was just trying to get an idea of how it would look if it was RSD2. So you're saying that the road would come out a bit more and that it would be perhaps a maximum of about 17 lots, depending on how the layout was?
Possibly. We
Okay.
calculated between 14 and 17.
Okay.
The key criteria is Brighton is to come out to Wharf in our plans.
Mhm.
And not continue out because of the proximity of the access to the entrance to the school.
Right.
So the proposal to bring Brighton out to Nixon, which may create an opportunity for an additional lot there, would not be supported, because this is where the access is to the elementary school. So the preference is to have that connect out to Wharf Street and have just a pedestrian connectivity. So you've got further back on the Brighton subdivision, you've got pedestrian connectivity that comes down from the Johnson Street subdivision, and this is a continuation of that pedestrian access, but we don't necessarily want vehicles following that same pedestrian corridor.
I just have 2 more quick questions, if
Go
that's
ahead,
okay. My second question was, did a traffic study need to be done for this type of application? Or is that, I see on here that the Ministry of Transportation would say something afterward, but at this stage or before, did it need to be done?
It's not it's referred to as being a significant amount of traffic, and it's all relative. From what we understand, this would be part of the engineer planning that was done when the road systems were installed in this neighborhood. So this isn't a significant additional amount of traffic volume. All of these large blocks that aren't in ELR within the Trout Creek neighborhood were viewed in the context of what it would mean when single-family development occurred. So those blocks have been, although not designated, were viewed as being some form of development take place at some point in time.
Okay. And then my last question was, I think we touched on this last time, but tonight again there was references to previous plans for this property. Can you just comment on that?
So there was a subdivision application that was made sometime previously, and with the previous application is referenced as being a neighborhood plan. But we do not have a neighborhood plan for Trout Creek. There was some pre-plans that were done around a potential subdivision that involved 4 parcels. 2 of the parcels were then rezoned and approved for subdivision independent of the original plan. So once that occurred, it rendered the original planning not possible. So you can't come in from Johnson Street through to this site as was originally proposed. So there was subdivision plans that were prepared. There was an application that was submitted. The best record I can find on it was that this district did not approve a subdivision of any form or proceed towards that without authorization of all the property owners, and one authorization was not obtained, so it did not move forward from there. Those files we do have them in the district's files. There's a letter that was sent to the property owners informing them of that, but there is not a neighborhood plan in our record and in any records of the OCP that I could find. So a neighborhood plan is a land use plan that would have been established and incorporated into the official community plan, as we have other neighborhood plans.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Holmes and Councillor Boot, did you have a question, Councillor Carlson? Okay.
Yeah, just following up on some of Councillor Trainer's questions. You mentioned the key criteria was for Britain to come out onto Wharf and not straight through to Nixon. One of the ideas that was mentioned was the idea of Britain being a cul-de-sac as a way to limit traffic on Wharf. I just wonder if that was ever considered.
It currently is through a statutory right-of-way. There's this last lot here has a limitation on it because it has a hammerhead turnaround.
Yeah.
The plan was always to continue through with this roadway out to Wharf Street, so the infrastructure and all the other components have been installed and designed with that intent. So that would then leave a cul-de-sac with a significant length. Chris, what would be the maximum length on a cul-de-sac?
I believe 200.
So we'd be exceeding that. So we'd be exceeding our bylaw for cul-de-sac length if we were to request that as part of the structure.
Okay, and just follow up.
Go ahead, Chair.
So I was just wondering, how would we, looking into the future, monitor sort of the impact of the traffic on Wharf? I'm just, how would, like, 10, I don't know when it was, 10 or 15 years ago when they put the lights on at Johnson and the highway, how was that determined that those lights needed to go there, and would the same sort of monitoring be done for Wharf? Just so we know,
Those lights have been there longer than that.
No, they weren't there when I first moved there.
The light at Johnson Street? It didn't, it was a flashing green.
It's a flashing light.
But it's always been there.
Yeah, it wasn't real light like it is now. It was only if you push the button. It was for pedestrians, it wasn't for traffic.
Still, a light system was there.
So what's the trigger?
Yeah, so what
Yeah.
triggers all that? Yeah.
So there's always ongoing discussions around traffic volumes, and rezonings are referred to the ministry for that purpose. So the Ministry of Highways evaluates and provides their sign-off on these rezonings. Normally, it's out of an OCP review process. So when the OCP comes up for its next review, one of the requirements would be to refer it to the ministry, and there would be additional discussions with the city engineering staff around the access points to the highway. And there's multiple ones. So there's always going to be discussion going on with highways about the different points and what would happen with this particular one. The last time around, my understanding was they decided to leave the wharf open, but that may change in the future. And it may not necessarily be as a result of additional homes in this neighborhood. It may be as a result of safety parameters for the highway that may change. So at this point, we don't know that.
Okay, Councillor Boot, I think you had
Thank you.
a question.
I realize that this rezoning application is for RSD1, but I'm wondering if, I don't even know if this is a possibility. Is a subdivision, can a subdivision have more than one zone? Could there be a mix of RSD1 and RSD2 in a subdivision?
As a parameter, yes, you can have multiple zonings on a single parcel prior to subdivision. That's possible. But the application is for the property for RSD1.
Yes, right. So I was just asking the question because that would be a possibility.
Yeah, you can have multiple zones on
Okay.
a single parcel and zone certain areas, and you see it mostly around commercial more so than residential. But for a subdivision purpose, you certainly can do that. Most commonly, it's seen when you have a subdivision block like this that was going to occur that would have a portion that was going to be multifamily and then a portion that was going to be single family. So
right,
that's
of
where you
course.
commonly see it.
Right.
So the fourplexes or the duplexes or whatever have a different zoning than the component that's going to be single family. So you'll see multi-zoning applications that take place around residential like that. And commercial, similarly, there's certain commercial zones that allow certain uses, and you may get a shopping center or another commercial development that'll have components that are multi-zoning.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify something. We talked about sidewalk on Nixon. I assume that there's sidewalks in Britain and along Wharf Street? No? No, I mean, probably not. It would just because of the drainage issues, right?
Pedestrian access and pedestrian safety is a component of our bylaws.
Right. Yeah,
So
okay.
whatever safety provisions have to be designed and engineered and built in order for pedestrians to be safe would be
Okay.
incorporated into the engineering.
And they
design.
really haven't done that, they don't start that stage
Right.
until
Okay,
that,
sorry.
until we know if the rezoning is happening, and
Yeah.
then that's when they start to work on the engineering side.
I guess I'd just like to respond to what Councillor Booth said a few minutes ago in questioning about mixtures of zonings. That the reality of what I see in front of me, and that's why I was asking the question earlier, the 4 new lots or whatever on Nixon do exceed the
Square footage.
650 for RSD2.
Right.
And the only 2 lots that I think are minimum RSD1s, are those the ones at the top on the other side of the walkway? Are they 460 or I can't read the numbers here?
Oh, as far as lot sizes?
Yeah,
No, we don't have none of the lots are 460. The smallest lot is lot 17 in the interior here, and these 2 here are 508.
okay.
So these ones at the top are 535,
Oh, okay,
and these are a matching pair
right,
to line up with, so we get the straight walkway.
right. Okay, so in essence, none of the lots in the subdivision are as small as is allowed in an RSD1.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
they're all over the 460.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, anything else, Council? Councillor Holmes, Councillor Carlson? Or who was first? Go ahead.
I think just what you were touching on, Mr. Mayor, is just the concern, and you addressed it, that it's through the subdivision process, but the big concern is, I don't think is the size of these lots as they're presented. It's what the mechanism is in place to prevent those lots all of a sudden becoming small lots, or RSD1 size lots. 460.
I think
lots.
didn't we just address that?
Yeah,
though,
we
that-
did. Just let me finish, please.
Yeah, go.
So what if this development falls through for, I'm not suggesting it would, but what if it does, and it is now zoned RSD1? What happens in the future with somebody else taking that property over and deciding to do something completely different with it.
Mr. Strachan?
So ownership isn't the guiding practice in subdivision, so the ownership would be regardless. So if they sold the parcel as a single parcel, it would still carry forward with what was presented to the public at rezoning. So if they were to, for example, do an alteration with the new owner, we would be looking at that in this context of this plan.
But, I mean, it's a fair question, and the approving officer is always in an interesting position in a municipality in that theoretically council can't fetter their discretion. And so if you're not doing a comprehensive zone, if you're doing an actual RSD1 zone, if many years pass by and they felt by doing whatever diligence the approving officer felt met the criteria of community consultation and approval, then you're absolutely correct. Theoretically, it could be changed that time. One could imagine that within the first year or at a time that it was presented so clearly here, it wouldn't change. But if it laid empty for a number of years, council would no longer have influence over what that decision was made. But certainly for this, any, like we said before, it would be completely unrealistic within the first probably year or 2 years or this particular development.
You think Councillor Carlson and Councillor Pete?
Just that it sounds to me like what we're talking about is trust. And I think that in Trout Creek that the people have been burned by Lighthouse Landing, and there's a lack of trust and probably a lack of respect between the people that developed that and the people who have lived in that neighborhood for a long time. I think that we are dealing with a completely different situation. I believe the people who own and are proposing this development on this piece of land are doing so with good intent. They've been in this neighborhood for longer than I've been alive. And
longer than I've been alive.
I don't think so. And I think that I trust that they're going to do this right. So something has to happen. I think that it could come back again and again, but then they may not trust the process that we're going through as well. I mean, we can't. Everyone that spoke basically said we are not opposed to development. We're not opposed to development on this property. We just don't want to see RSD1. Well, as we have now discussed multiple times, it's an RSD1 proposed subdivision with almost half the lots that are conforming or just about conforming to being RSD2. And there's a lot of reasons that I think this would be worth letting happen and proving that a subdivision and a development can be done properly in a community. And I think it's unfortunate that there wasn't a barbecue in September to invite the neighbors over and talk about what it would look like and what they would like to see. But we're in the middle of February now, and this is the second time this has come forward, or the end of February. And I think that we need to put a little bit of trust in the process that this council has worked really hard to put in place and that staff has worked really hard to enforce. So that's what I think.
Thank you. Councillor Barkle.
I think my views are informed by all the speakers we had tonight. We had unanimous opposition to it other than from the developers, basically. Even Banks Crescent had lots of people on both sides of the issue. Councillor Holmes spoke to how you cannot build your way out of the affordability issue. I don't know about that, but on one hand you might say more lots means lower prices, but I don't know if that necessarily works on a small little subdivision. It just seems that I don't call the opposition we heard here today NIMBYism. I think they came here with a very reasonable compromise. RSD2 is still way smaller than all the other lots in the neighborhood. RSD2 is 0.16 of an acre for those of us who kind of think that way now. All the other lots in the neighborhood are a quarter of an acre or half an acre, so it's still considerably smaller than the surrounding neighborhood, except for once you get down to Lighthouse Landing, which has had universal condemnation, it would seem. So I think that we'd like to see compromise, and RSD2 is a very good compromise, and that's how I feel about it, and how I'll be voting.
Throw my 2 cents in here. I think, you look at a lot of the large lots in Trout Creek. We've been fortunate, and well, actually, I believe we were pressed by Interior Health, et cetera, to sewer the area because of the problems with the lake and so on. So every lot, regardless of size, had sewer. And so you've got lots, as you say, a quarter acre, half acre, or larger than that, all have sewer. And that's one of the reasons uptown, for example, we have considerably larger lots than you might find in a downtown residential area, and that's why there's subdivisions of some of those lots taking place, because they now have sewer. And they didn't before. They needed that larger size to accommodate septic fields. And so the same thing applies in Trout Creek. They had larger lots were the norm, because you had to have a larger lot to accommodate the sewer field or the septic field. So, I think over time those things have changed. And granted, there was, as you say, people spoke against it. But there's, a lot of people haven't been heard from as well. So, at any rate, any other comments? Councillor Traynor?
I think that the neighbors were asked for their opinions twice, and they spoke pretty clearly on how they felt. I realize that the OCP does allow for RSD1 up to that highest zoning in that area, but I don't think that necessarily means that it flows with the neighborhood. So I would fully support RSD2 in this spot, but at this point I can't support RSD1.
Thank you. Councillor Booth.
Thank you. I can't support RSD1 or as it's laid out here with some close to RSD2. I would support, and this is why I was asking the question of our Director of Development Services, I would support an RSD on the eastern side, RSD2, sorry, and leaving the RSD1 on the western side. Sorry, I'm not very good with directions.
Highway or of the highway?
No,
or
of
this
Britain
development?
Road.
Okay.
So on the Nixon Road side, RSD2, and then on the Britain Road on the left side, RSD1. But for all of the lots as they're structured now at RSD1, I wouldn't be in favor of that.
So the fact that the 4 lots on Nixon, which are the predominant number of lots, exceed RSD2 area, doesn't have any influence there? The fact that they're 30 centimeters narrower than might be required, but have the area in excess of RSD2, you can't look at that?
I'm suggesting that all of the lots on that side should be RSD2.
Okay. Councillor Holmes.
I hear what Councillor Booth is saying. I would argue this is what it already is. I know 21 moving from 22.
Sorry, can I just interrupt for a second? I think you've misunderstood me, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I'm not talking about the 4 lots that are very close to
They're on Nixon.
that are on Nixon. I'm not talking solely about those 4 lots.
No.
I'm talking about all the lots on the Nixon Road side of the development. So in between Nixon Road and Britton Road, all of those lots, I'm suggesting,
Oh,
would
in
be
between
RSD2.
Britton and Nixon. Right.
Sorry,
Oh,
yes,
okay. No, I thought-
that's what
I
that's what I
thought you were
meant.
saying just on Nixon that they had to all be.
No, I'm saying all of them on
Oh, I
that
see.
side.
Okay.
Yes, reconfiguration.
Okay, Councillor
Okay.
Holmes.
I know it doesn't seem like much changing it from 22 to 21 lots, but I think you have to think in terms of it's the lots along Nixon. It's the change from 6 to 5, and I think that does make a big difference. I think I mean, that is where the character of Trout Creek is where you really see it, and they are, you know, they are in all intents and purposes RSD2 lots, those ones, and the ones on Wharf. You know, my main concern is that they stay that way, that they don't become something we don't see there. And I think I've got the assurances from our planner and the process that they will. I don't agree with what people are saying, that different housing types and different lot sizes decreases property values. I live across the street from Tuscan Terrace, and when those were built, they haven't decreased our property values at all. You know, they haven't decreased mine at all. If anything, they've increased it. So I think a mixture of different types of lot sizes isn't necessarily a bad thing, and it doesn't have to take away from a character of a neighborhood. I think a lot of my concerns from the last time when I voted against have been alleviated. The safety, again, the removal of that one extra lot on Nixon does help the safety with the school. The assurance that some sort of pedestrian corridor will be there. You know, it's a tough one, and it's not the same as Banks Crescent. We're talking about 21 houses, not 424 units. You know, it's not the same. So would I've liked to seen what Councillor Boot is suggesting. Maybe that would have been better. You know, maybe that would have been, 20 lots. That would have been a little bit better. But as Councillor Carlson was saying, how much further can you keep going with this? And so. For me, it's good enough, just.
Okay, Councillor Pete.
Yeah, I feel that the changes to the areas on those lots, both on Nixon and on Wharf, will create a different feeling. I do want to see the covenant. I appreciate the discussions on safety, on the walkability, and I understand that comes at the discretion of the approving officer, but I think with council speaking to the safety measure for those people on the traffic area of Nixon and heading to the school is important. I look at serviced areas and the fact that we do need housing. They may not be affordable in the traditional way. It may be two professionals that are able to afford the kinds of properties that we're looking at here, but they are quite often two professionals that also have children, and I see that as an opportunity for the community as well to continue to be the kind of community that the people that have been there 40 years or 25 years no longer have those children, and that we have an opportunity for new families to be in the area.
Okay, Council, are we ready to move ahead? Councillor Barkle?
I just wanted to add, I am glad that we're going to get a legal opinion here, because the speakers have raised real doubts in my mind about the fact that it isn't exactly the same bylaw, even though the plan within the bylaw has changed, so we'll find out.
I'm pretty confident that it is, but I will just get one just to confirm by 4th if it passes through.
Okay, Council. All in favor?
Now,
It's being read.
With the
It's being read and
with the
seconded.
covenant
Oh,
added to it.
the covenant should be added to the motion.
Yes.
Was that?
Did anybody bring this forward?
Yes, we did.
Aaron Carlson brought it. Did you bring it forward with the covenant?
Yes,
Right.
I did.
I thought so.
So we had a
Seconded.
mover and a seconder.
I just wanted to be
Okay,
sure it
yeah.
was.
But now you know where I come from occasionally, eh?
Mhm.
So I forget. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
And I need to remind council that now, again, we need to have a delay between third reading and adoption because of NOP approval. So you must ensure that there's no new information and that you do not engage in discussions surrounding this particular item until that comes for adoption.
Okay. Okay. Okay, council, I need a motion to extend the meeting, please.
Or not.
Hey.
If we have to, it's gonna be quick, right?
Well, I don't know. It's up to you.
I'll move that we extend.
Okay,
I'll
seconder?
second it.
All in favor? Thank you. Councillor Barkle? You're in favor?
You need to remember to ask opposed.
But
Okay,
I-
opposed.
And then they're in favor
Well-
if they don't oppose.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
it doesn't require unanimous
No.
approval,
No.
no.
Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, we're on to council reports.
Nope.
Nope.
Quinpool Road.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're still on 14.2. That's wishful thinking. No wonder. Okay, Mr. Strachan, please.
So this is the zoning bylaw amendment the council received and approved to move forward to bylaw at the last meeting. This is for 9918 Quinpool. The application is to rezone the property for allowance for subdivision under the RSD 1I. It's consideration for council of first and second reading and scheduling a public hearing on March 26, 2008.
Okay, thank you.
I will move that the zoning bylaw amendment 2018-003 be introduced and read a first and second time, and that a public hearing be held on March 26, 2018 to receive public feedback.
Seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to councillor reports. Starting with Councillor Trainer.
I don't have anything to report tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Barkle.
I have the same report as Councillor Trainer.
Good. Councillor Booth.
And I do, but I don't want to report.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate.
Well, just to say that tomorrow I'm going to attend an Agriculture Advisory Committee workshop put on by the Ministry of Agriculture, and it's in Kelowna, and 3 of our committee members will also be attending. It's on governance and how do we make the most of our Ag Advisory Committee, so hopefully we'll get some good information from that.
Oh, that should be
Councillor Holmes.
interesting.
Councillor Peak.
I've attended the KVR board meeting and the Heritage Commission meeting. I'd like to give congratulations to the skating club for a great skating carnival. We have a great club.
Good. Okay,
Mr.
the
Mayor.
public like to, pardon me?
I'd just like to, I forgot to say congratulations to Councillor Carlson, who's now, didn't have enough to do. She's the treasurer of the Cherry Growers Association.
Oh.
There you go. You read the newspaper?
Yeah.
Or on the radio, I think.
Radio even.
Just don't know how to say no.
Good for you.
Okay, it's an opportunity for the public to ask questions of council or to actually make comments. 2 minutes per speaker. Not hearing anybody? Okay. The press. John? Okay. We have a motion for adjournment, please. Councillor Boot, Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Carried.